Hey, Mr.
Hi,
Gilmer.
how are you?
Good. How's my audio?
Good. There's about 18 people in the waiting room right now. I was just thinking I would admit everybody at uh, like 5:25, but I'm happy to admit everybody now. I just didn't know if there's any sort of organizational stuff we need to do before we get started. And either you froze or I froze.
The way to do this, and I'm just everybody know that we want people to put their full name into the chat and let us know that they want to speak, and then I'm going to ask that Rupa help you in terms of monitoring that, so that you can let people off of mute when it comes time for the public participation. Otherwise, I think we probably want to mute everyone. Because typically these can get very chaotic if we don't have that done.
Yeah.
Now the question is, will you be able to unmute all of the LSC members? Or is that going to be?
No, I probably would be easier for them to just stay muted, and then if they need to speak, they can unmute themselves.
Well, no, just because we need to run through at the beginning. We need to run through the approval of the agenda, the minutes, and that's really it. Roll call. So maybe just leave it off mute at the beginning, and get after I speak, or even before I speak, you can mute everybody and maybe unmute me, so that I can read through the statement, as well as just some of the housekeeping things that I wanted to address, because we're going to move to the minutes right at, or public participation right after the approval of the minutes, so that we can take care of that, and then we'll get we'll take care of the nominations and the business part after we do the public participation section. Hey, Rupa.
Hi.
Rupa, I was just reiterating to David, I think what we've kind of gone back and forth on is that we're going to leave, everybody's going to be unmuted to start. So we just got to pray that people behave. And then once we get past the vote on the approval of the minutes, I asked David to just go ahead and mute everybody, and then I'll give some comments around the public participation and read the statement. And one of the things obviously is reiterating the fact that we are listening today. We're not prepared to address any questions. This is all about listening. And then we'll have David unmute people as you guys see them in the chat. And I guess you guys might be chatting back and forth a bit.
That sounds good. For note-taking purposes, am I expected to take notes of every single person that's bringing public comment, or am I just like taking notes like I would like the normal meeting minutes?
I think the normal, because David's going to be recording.
Okay.
And it's going to be obviously very important that we have the recording going forward.
Okay.
So do you agree, David?
Yeah, I agree. So I think I'll just admit everybody now, since it's 5 minutes till. There's about 30 people waiting to get in.
Okay.
So we're good with that. All right.
I think.
Rupa, I'm doing a look at the participants to make sure that we have members of the LSC in. Dr. Powers, I need to get you some White Sox gear. I'm going to wait till 5:30 to do roll call. It's kind of hard to keep track of everybody that's coming in terms of participants. So I have 5:30. I'm going to go ahead and call the local school council meeting to order, and we'll start with roll call for the members. Jesus,
Present.
Dania,
Present.
Delaney, we'll come back to Laney. Mr. Gilmer,
Present.
Christian Kuhn,
Here.
Marge,
Here.
Tim, I'm here. Mr. Pickett. Thank you, Mr. Pickett. Dr. Powers.
Here.
Rupa.
Here.
Sam Robinson. Veronica Robinson.
Present.
Okay, let me go back. Lainey, have you joined? Okay, Lainey and Sam, are you on? I know I sent you the link just a few minutes ago. Okay,
It looks like Lainey's coming on right now.
okay. So,
Sam
normally-
Robinson's here.
Hey, Sam, great. And Lainey, did you join?
Hey, Tim, she's muted, so I don't know if she
Okay,
can hear you.
well, that doesn't happen often, so. Good enough. We have the roll call taken care of. For all the new members and for the benefit of all of our guests today, we have 3 new members that are joining us due to graduations of students in June. So what happens at this meeting in July, it's typically probably the fastest meeting that we have all year, because the major business to take place is choosing of the chairman, the vice chairman, the FOIA and OMA officer, and then we set the regular meeting schedule for the rest of the year. Obviously, with it being a typically fast meeting, we found it was perfect timing for us to also have our first LSC listening session, as most of you have heard about. So prior to moving forward with the agenda, I do want to just let people know that in order to accommodate everybody who wants to speak, we have moved the public participation portion of our meeting up in the agenda, so it'll happen after we approve the minutes. What we're going to ask is that you go to the chat and type your full name in if you would like to speak. Our current secretary, Rupa, will be recording who would like to speak, and Mr. Gilmer, who takes care of our Zoom conference, will then unmute your microphone so that you can speak. We typically ask that public participation be limited to 2 minutes. We will grant some flexibility, but we do want to stay, within reason. And so with that said, I just wanted to make sure you understood the ground rules of how we're going to go about unmuting people so you can talk. So please, once again, type your name in the chat to Rupa or David, and we'll make sure that you are taken off mute and can be heard.
Hey, Tim, we're running into a little bit of an issue. The Zoom meeting has maxed out, which apparently has changed. So I'm looking at Zoom right now to see if I can pay for an upgrade to get us over 100 members. But currently we have 100 people in, and earlier this year Zoom was allowing us up to 500, but apparently that's changed. So I'm gonna go look and see if I can pay for an upgrade real quick.
Okay. Okay, we'll work on that. But I guess what we can do is go through, as we do have definitely a quorum. Lainey's the only one that's not in from the LSC, so we do have some business that we can take care of. And so the selection of temporary chair just falls to the former chair, which in this case is me. The same thing goes for the selection of the temporary secretary. So Rupa, you continue to have the honors until we move further in the meeting potentially and somebody else wants to take on your role. So at this point, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda from an LSC member.
I motion to approve the agenda.
Marge has a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Rupa seconds. So all those in favor on LSC, please, I guess we'll have to say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. All right, the motion carries. For everybody's benefit, typically we can see everybody on the screen, so we can just put our hands up, but that's not the case tonight, obviously. The next bit of business is to approve the minutes from our meeting on June 2nd, which everybody has a copy of. I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from June 2nd.
I second.
Rupa moves, Marge seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
nay. Hearing no oppositions, that motion carries. At this point, I will pause to see if David's had any luck, seeing if we can get more users in.
So Tim, it looks like to get more users in is like 50 or 60 bucks plus like another cost. I can run down and get my credit card, or I can look and see if there's a limit on Google Meet. I obviously don't know what the best option is.
Can I make a suggestion that maybe as folks participate in public comment after they're able to offer their public comment, because this is only a listening session for us to collect data, that folks maybe excuse themselves off the line after? Is that a possibility?
We could post the recording. We could post the recording,
right,
so everybody could see that. You know, I apologize. I didn't realize that the limit was where it is. So I'll do whatever people need to do.
I think at this point we don't have much of an alternative. As Rupa mentioned, this is designed to be a listening session, so it is going to be recorded. It's going to be public information. So I believe we should move forward.
Yeah, and I apologize. When they originally gave us the accounts, they gave us a limit of 500 people, and I didn't have any information that had changed.
David, is there a waiting room with all these folks and you're able to see who those folks are? Because I wonder if it's worth making an announcement to those folks if you're able to, and like maybe sending them like a Google Doc where they can put their name. That way, as they enter, we can just start taking their public comment.
So if people go into the waiting room, I can message them. And so I'll just need you to watch the chat to call on people to speak, and I'll watch the waiting room, and everyone who enters, I'll send a message saying, we'll admit you when we're under capacity.
Cool.
Tim, did you see the email message from Lainey? She's actually one of the people waiting to get in.
Yeah, she's texting me as well.
Okay.
So thanks, Chris.
Right now we're at 99. If Lainey wants to try to join, I can admit her and start a waiting room.
Your microphone is unmuted.
I'm muting.
There was a suggestion made about moving this to a Facebook Live event. I have no idea how to do that, but does someone else know how to do that?
Tim, is there a direction we should be going?
I think that we can move forward with starting to take comment, and we can, like we said, we will be posting the recording, and you know, we would just kindly ask that after people have given their input, that they hang up and allow somebody, the next person, to come in. All of the the messages that we get will be, public information.
Can I add really quickly though that if some people are not in the chat while others are speaking, then we may get a lot of repetitive comments. So I don't know, the suggestion about upgrading and getting reimbursed, is that possible or no?
If it's necessary to upgrade it, we'll cover the cost of it.
Okay, I personally think that would be the best option right now.
Okay, let me try to upgrade real quick. I apologize. Just give me 1 second. We're upgraded, so we shouldn't have that issue anymore.
Thanks, David.
And I'll
give a couple minutes here
voice.
for, yeah. Wait until I see the participants stop adding up, and then I'll re-announce some of my announcements.
So far, it looks like it's 122.
I was able to get in, Tim. Thank you.
We're for.
As of right now, Tim, we no longer have anyone in the waiting room.
Yeah, question and someone put out on your own social media that people can join in. I don't have access to that. Don't know if, for Powers, you have any school access for Twitter or Facebook or whatever?
No, not to the school accounts.
Okay. Well, hopefully if people are communicating. If anybody out there who's on this can maybe just feed your social media feed, that would be helpful. So we have no
Thanks.
limits now. We're at 143 people.
Student government, I just checked with Zoe, and the student government group chat is going to put out a note that it's been upgraded and anybody that wants to try to get in can try again.
Okay.
I mean, to say that like we still will cap out at 300 now. I mean, it's not an unlimited subscription.
Right.
Well, hopefully we don't double the numbers right here. We're at 149. Okay, so a lot of people have joined just recently. I'll just reiterate that what we're going to do is, for our public participation, have you chat Rupa Ramadurai, who is our secretary, and just give her your full name so that she can indicate you want to speak. And then Mr. Gilmer, who's running the Zoom, will take you off of mute. And just to reiterate, this is a listening session, and that's what we're prepared to do. We're not in a position right now to answer any specific questions, but we want to listen. And as a start to that, I want to read the statement that the LSC issued in June, and then we'll begin with the first participants. So we, the local school council of Jones College Prep, representing parents, teachers, students, community members, and administrators, stand in solidarity with Black students, families, communities, and allies, including those protesting in unequivocally stating that Black lives matter. We acknowledge the historical oppression and inequities in Chicago and across the nation that have contributed to the pervasive conditions Black people continue to face today. These include, but are not limited to, biased judicial systems, anti-Black policies and police brutality. We grieve the murders of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Tony McDowd, and the countless others who came before. In our capacity as the LSC, we hold responsibility for budget, strategy, and administrative performance. We will use these platforms to address racial inequities that face our Black students and families. We recognize our shortcomings in failing to better employ these channels as an agent of change. We have not done enough to address dismantling supremacist structures, and we must work deeply to embed anti-racist work here at Jones. Moving forward, we believe that the most important form of leadership right now is to listen to those who have been doing anti-racist work and those who have been experiencing these issues on a daily basis. Drawing from that learning, we can begin to take the necessary steps to create material change in the social climate at Jones. The Jones LSC is beginning this work with this open listening session tonight, with an aim toward developing a comprehensive and actionable anti-racist plan in the coming 2020-2021 school year. We commit to having conversations through an explicit racial equity lens and to elevate the narratives of those most deeply impacted by racist systems and structures. Finally, we recognize that the trust for progress is frail, if non-existent at this time, and the only way to try and rebuild that trust is through action. The potential for radical change and reform is on the horizon. We know we're due. We owe it to our students, we owe it to our families, we owe it to our community. I hope that many of you have seen the statement, and at this point, David, we can begin with our first.
So the first person I have is Shirley Rhodes. And apologies if I have mispronounced your name.
All right. Hi, my name is Shirley Rhodes, and I came up with a list of ideas. All right, so the first one is that there should be a mandatory lesson integrated with integrated into the freshman curriculum over inclusive language and integrated neighborhoods across the city. In these segregated communities, it's easy to disregard people's opinions on what you are and you are not allowed to say because the people directly hurt or impacted by your words are not around to inform you. A start to this curriculum could be having a conversation between ACT Lab teachers and their students across all grade levels. The second one is teachers should have access to translators to help meet the needs of students whose parents' primarily language is not English. Result, the students has to be the interpreter for their parent. It could be the administration job to go the extra mile in making sure the parent has no issues accessing information. The third point is there should be a full-time psychologist at Jones. Outside of the school, such as therapists. Students from low-income communities struggle to gain access to these type of resources by having to wait on lengthy waiting lists. Black, Indigenous, people of color students are often the ones who struggle to access these type of resources. If Jones were to have a full-time psychologist, they would see an improvement in performance from the minority students who often have difficulty focusing in the class or schoolwork due to things they are emotionally and mentally struggling with. And the fourth one, Jones administration, teachers, staff members, and etc. should do everything in their power about a student who was sexually harassed in Jones. This sparked up the conversation that rape culture does indeed exist in the Jones community. Multiple students share their story about getting sexually harassed by the same student, and some did report to admit nothing was followed up. There was a news article released by the Chicago Tribune, and they mentioned that CPS had one of the weakest policies to protect the victims against their perpetrators. The administration should strictly follow CPS protocol on sexual assault or harassment reports. They should not investigate the situation themselves. And that would be the end of.
Shirley, thank you so much for submitting that. Can you please do us a favor? Your sound was going in and out. Can you please send an email to me? I'm going to put my email in the chat. Send me an email with your statement. That way we also have it in writing, please.
Okay.
Thank you. The next individual I have on the list is Ashlynn Bolton.
Okay, hello. I wrote something down. So my name is Ashlynn Bolton, and I'm a rising senior at Jones. I am not the only one to observe racial tensions amongst my peers, but amongst staff and administration. With 3 years that I have attended Jones, the social environment has lacked security and comfortability for minority students and staff. The administration continues to show lack of respect for students and staff and have continuously shown that they do not follow protocol when it comes to students and staff creating a hostile environment. There should be no reason a student should have to face their rapist or oppressor in an environment that should be considered safe. There's no reason a reported rapist, oppressor, sexual harasser, or pedophile should be allowed to roam the halls of a place that students feel that it's appropriate to say the N-word in the middle of a presentation and think it's educational. There's no reason a social media platform is considered a safer place than our school. As of 10:20 a.m. today, there are 106 reports of racism, sexual harassment, and pedophilic activity. If Jones admin cannot see fault within their actions and act quickly, we as students, as people, and as victims will move swiftly to ensure that this no longer happens to us or any future students who attend Jones College Prep. From what we've been shown, protecting students of color, protecting young women, and protecting the LGBTQ+ community is not on your agenda. Every year, there are new reports to administration where nothing has been done. There should be a no tolerance policy for these behaviors, meaning that we expect expulsion. We expect staff to be dismissed if they cannot uphold the values of our community. And we expect to be learning in a safe, equal, and just environment that does not mimic our government.
Thank you, Ashlynn.
Thanks, Ashlynn. The next person we have is Elaine Buggs.
Good evening. I am a Jones parent. I just want to, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to have this listening session, because I think that's the first step to improvement. I wanted to just point out a couple of things that I think that will be helpful to make students feel more comfortable in the Jones community. Specifically, I'm a parent of a student of African-American descent. The first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to recommend that when there are vacancies, that you strongly consider hiring more teachers of color, African-American or African diaspora, because it's important that students of all colors see a representation of African-Americans teaching and leading. When we did the orientation, had an opportunity to talk to students, so not just my daughter, but other students feel like they need more Black teachers there and more Black leaders. The other thing that I think is important is to work on the cultural relevancy as it relates to lesson plans and instruction. Taking a look at that and being more diligent and representing various cultures, not relegating African-American history to just the session, but I do want to put a plug and say that the BSU and that program is really good and strong, but just building on that momentum and being more intentional, not to have it just an extra class, but that it's a part of everyone's history. Let's see, the other thing I think is important is that when things happen to students of color, when teachers or staff are silenced, that reads as compliance. So I think that sitting by and allowing certain things to take place speaks to those students that it's not a safe place for them to feel comfortable there. So those are the three things that I have as a recommendation, and I do thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thanks, Elaine. Next person we have is Andrea Salamanca.
Hi everyone, I'm Andrea Salamanca. I am an alum of Jones. I just graduated, I guess a year ago now, class of 2019. And so I just really wanted to reiterate some of the demands that student organizers at Jones have put out. And so demand number one, we demand that the Jones LSC board votes against retaining school resource officers at Jones. Demand number two, we demand that Jones faculty and staff receive mandatory training on implicit racial bias, equity, and inclusion that specifically addresses the challenges faced by Black students. We ask that the contents of these trainings are made transparent and developed according to the discretion of the Jones community. Demand number three, we demand that Jones counselors receive additional mandatory training on cultural competence and mental health, including but not limited to learning strategies for helping Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, students of color cope with racial trauma, imposter syndrome, and culture shock. Demand number four, we demand that security guards receive additional mandatory training on how to de-escalate situations that involve BIPOC students without acting based on racial bias. Demand number five, we demand that Jones offer and publicize an administrative system for reporting racist incidents and receiving support. Jones must also clearly communicate and enforce disciplinary consequences for students and faculty who instigate racist incidents. Demand number six, we demand that Jones add anti-racism materials as well as materials which highlight and empower BIPOC history and voices into the curricula of the Jones social science and English classes. Demand number seven, we demand that Jones regularly host speakers to discuss subjects including, but not limited to, Black Lives Matter, anti-racism, local racial justice initiatives, intersectionality, and allyship. And demand number eight, we demand that Jones make a public statement on its website and social media channels that expresses support for Black Lives Matter and explicitly details what steps Jones will be taking to advance anti-racism and support its BIPOC moving forward. A lot of us as students of color at Jones have faced so many incidents, whether it be through microaggressions or explicit and overt racism, and we just need more support from Jones administration. Obviously, my time as Jones has ended, but it is essential that if Jones wants to be seen as this sort of progressive, really incredible, all-welcoming school, especially with its location in downtown, we need to make sure that students of color, and specifically Black students, are really supported by our administration, and it isn't just a bunch of talking instead of actual action. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Andrea. And I do want to just point out, this is Tim Peterson, the chairman, talking, that we have received the demands. Everybody on the LSC has gotten plenty of emails. So that is definitely noted. I do want to ask that if any other students or alumni who've signed the petition, if your plan was to talk through those again, if you can just maybe just give your own personal feedback and not repeat the demands. We have that on record. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sunny Elmer.
Hi, so my name is Sunny Eimer. I'm a Jones alum with the class of 2020. I was the person who drafted the petition, so I don't want to be redundant and read the same demands, but I will note that since it was posted on Sunday, it has amassed over 2.3 thousand signatures from both members and friends of the Jones community. So there is mass community support for these demands. I also want to say, though, that it's not exhaustive and that the demands of other students on this call should definitely be factored into the blueprint that we're thinking of in terms of pursuing anti-racist work at Jones. But with that said, I'll try to summarize some of the points and the reasoning behind the demands. And the first one is that at the next LSC meeting, we demand that the board vote against retaining school resource officers at Jones. There has already been national and local precedent for taking police out of schools, most recently with Northside College Prep and Roberto Clemente Community Academy. Police presence in schools has historically meant that Black and Brown students are being subject to unchecked police violence and abuse. There are countless testimonials by CPS alums and students that detail misconduct, sexual harassment, and abuse by student resource officers. The presence of student resource officers at schools also upholds the school to prison pipeline and drains resources that could otherwise promote student safety, such as funds for nurses and social workers. Second, we demand mandatory racial equity training for Jones faculty and staff, and this includes security guards in terms of working on de-escalation, and also mental health counselors when it comes to cultural competence. It's unacceptable that students of color cannot feel safe at school because they have to worry about facing racism from their teachers, not to mention also their peers. On the same note, there needs to be accountability for racist incidents in general. The Jones administration historically has had a pattern of silencing and gaslighting students of color who come forward with traumatic experiences that they have faced in the classroom due to teachers or students who have instigated racism. It's important that these incidents, when reported, are followed up on with clear disciplinary consequences for the perpetrators, as well as support for those impacted by the incident. Also, similar to what Andrea said, anti-racism can't just be listening sessions. It can't just be a one-time conversation that we're just having today. It's essential that Jones makes this something sustainable, that that this dialogue about how we're pursuing anti-racism as a community is something that is built into classes in the form of anti-racist materials and also in the form of equitable representation of non-white and non-European histories and voices. Non-white histories and voices should not just be relegated to ethnic studies classes. They are part of US history. They are part of general English classes. And also, in addition to focusing on classes, there should be efforts made by the administration to support events throughout the year that are focused on racial justice topics. And then last, coming out of this meeting, we demand that Jones make a public statement on its website and all social media channels that express explicit support for Black Lives Matter and detail exactly what steps Jones will be taking to enact anti-racist work moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Sunny.
The next person we have is Ryan Drain.
The first thing I have to say is that as far as everything goes for this, this meeting is just not, like Sunny said, the first step. Students need to be able to actually see the changes that you claim that you want to make, because so far students of color have voiced these same concerns over and over and over again. And for like the club, the cultural clubs at Jones, like we host events, we make plans, we share that with everyone in the school countless times, but no attention has been given to us. And like Jones hasn't made that effort to do more. How do we know for a fact that you are going to do what you say you're going to do with the words that we've been giving you? Because nothing new has been said, nothing new has been changed, and nothing new is going to be changed, because you keep saying that you want to hear what students have to say, but nothing ever happens. We need security. We need to hear that you're, I don't even want you to say that you explicitly support Black Lives Matter, because you haven't said that as of now. The only thing in that letter, that would be nice. But in that letter that LSC wrote, you said that, but Jones hasn't said that. And I feel like the school is only mad about the social media page in itself, but not mad enough about the racism that's going on and the sexism and the gender bias and all the types of stuff that's going on in the school. You only get upset about what's going on in the Jones by POC page. So I don't know. I don't feel like anything is going to be said or done when we finish this meeting. I don't have any trust in my school. So that's a problem that I cannot say that. That is my truth. That is students of color, minority students' truth. You know, you can't just say that, oh, we're going to make this change. We want to hear this. We want to hear what you have to say, because it doesn't matter to you. So if that's going to be the case, I mean, it's like we're wasting our breath here. That's it.
Thank you. The next speaker we have is Jacqueline Smith.
Sorry about that. I was trying to unmute. So I am a CPS educator, teacher, and counselor for the last 11 years. I'm also the parent of a rising freshman. And just listening and reading some of the things that have come out recently are incredibly concerning for me. My daughter is intelligent and vibrant and bold and artistic, but sometimes also struggles with anxiety and depression. And reading some of the things that have come from teachers and students, considering exposing my daughter to that is incredibly concerning. That has not been her experience thus far. School choice has always been complicated for us. We look for a place that is diverse with culturally relevant curriculum that will acknowledge her academic growth and potential, as well as her identity as a young Black woman. Tolerance is not enough. She and every other Black student deserve to be valued, affirmed, encouraged, uplifted in every aspect of her educational experience in the classroom, socially. And honestly, I'm nervous. We've contemplated potentially going elsewhere. We probably won't, because that sounds hard for her too, but I'm grateful that you're listening. I am incredibly hopeful for change. It is necessary. I am a little bit worried that this seems to be maybe the first time this conversation is happening. I am new to this community, so I may be wrong. I'm hoping that I'm wrong about that. But I do hope that it's ongoing, and I'm glad that it's starting. And so, yeah, I can't speak to demands because I'm not sure, exactly what's already happening, what isn't as a new family, but I wanted to voice those concerns and hope to continue to be part of the conversation moving forward.
Thanks, Jacqueline.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Odilakachi Hezekiah Omukwe.
Very close. It's Odilakachi Hezekiah Omukwe.
I'm so sorry. Thank you.
It's all right. Once again, my name is Odilakachi William Hezekiah Omukwe, and I am a 2011 graduate of Jones College Prep. And it's extremely disheartening to hear that 9 years removed from being from Jones College Prep, these things are still happening. I went through the By POC Jones page as an alumni, and I'm thinking to myself, these are some of the same things that we struggled with when we were there at Jones. What I am hoping that the administration can do now is that I am hoping that this is not performative. I'm hoping that there is some real structural change implemented for these students to grow and to learn in an environment that is inclusive. That's one. Two, with that implementation, I hope you genuinely consider where these children are coming from and where they have to travel to in order to get to Jones College Prep. I will give an example. We had to both strategize, protest, and jump through massive amounts of hoops in order to get an African-American literature class placed into the curriculum during the zero period. I just checked the Jones College Prep website, and the zero period is not even on the website. So for us to have gone through all of those things is a glaring representation of them not valuing what it is that we bring to the United States and what it is that we bring to the social atmosphere as a whole. I would like for these new generational children at Jones College Prep to be valued. I want for them to be seen. I want for them to be heard, but I also want the administration to actually make a change that can carry on past another 10 years, because I will be completely honest with you. It is abhorrent for me to hear that almost 10 years after I've left, we're having the same conversation. Something needs to change, and it needs to change immediately. I greatly appreciate your time, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
No problem.
The next speaker we have is Brianna Paul.
Hello, I don't want to take up too much time. I just wanted to read a
Brianna, your volume is really low. If you can increase the volume for us, please.
Can you hear me?
Still very low.
Can you hear me now?
I'm not able to. Are y'all able to?
Yeah, it's just a little bit soft. I think you're okay.
Okay, I'll send it in an email later. I don't want to take up too much time. I just want to read a statement from a student who had an experience with a school resource officer at Whitney Young. Because it's at a different school, it may not have come to light, but he said that it actually took 12 hours after an arrest to get the students back to their homes because the school resource officer had no idea how to fill out the arrest papers, and he had to call his supervisor, who was at home at the time, to help him figure it out. That's ineffective and scary that someone there doesn't even know how to do that job. And I'm in favor of removing school resource officers from all schools.
Thanks for the feedback.
Our next speaker is Nadia Robinson.
Good evening, everyone. First, let me thank you guys for having this session and listening to everyone. My student he's a rising senior. I can't agree more with all of the dialogue that's been taken this evening. I come from a background in healthcare, and I think that it's important to have diversity and inclusion training, not just for your students, but also for your faculty. And it's not something that you could have as a one-time kind of thing. I don't think you could have it upon hiring. I don't think you could just have it for your freshman students. I think it's something that's always going to have to be on your radar. It's going to have to be a mandatory type of course training that is always taken for all of your students, for all of your staff. The stories that I've been hearing come from your students currently and in the past, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking that it's 2020, and it's heartbreaking that I heard these stories when I was a student. I graduated in 1996, and I heard stories like this from other schools. It's heartbreaking that I heard stories like this 4 years ago from Jones College Prep students, from Whitney Young students, and I'm still hearing it today. And it makes me as a parent wonder why are we just having this listening session now? I just don't understand. And I hope that this is not just, as the young man who just spoke about how they fought for a class on our history to be taught during a period 9 years ago, and it's not even taught at the class anymore. I mean, honest to God, we keep hearing these types of things about Jones College Prep. why isn't our history important to you guys? Why isn't Black history important enough to be included in your curriculum? I mean, I know I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm just like very emotional and confused. So I'll end it there.
Thank you, Nadia.
The next speaker is Isabella E. But I'm not sure if she still wanted to speak.
Hi, I never said I was going to speak. I'm sorry if there was any miscommunication.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, Isabella. Tim, at this time, I don't have anybody else who's indicated in the chat. Jesus, did I miss anyone?
I didn't get anyone publicly stating that on the chat either.
Are the people with the blue hands up, are those people still wanting?
Yeah, sure.
It looks like there's a couple people that just put their hands up.
I can't see the people who are putting their hands up because I'm monitoring the chat, but I have Malik Bodie next.
Yeah, am I able to be heard right now?
Yep, we can hear you, Malik.
So I just wanted to clarify for the alum mentioning the African American Studies class. So there is, well, I'm a graduate of 2019. So as far as I know, there was an African American Studies class implemented. However, and I want to mention that because I don't want the administration to harp on that point that people misunderstood that. However, I do think that it isn't enough because you have an African American Studies class that's an elective, right? So it's not integral into the curriculum like I think it should be. And then you also have people electing to take that class who are already like experiencing those. They already have those experiences, right? So we're learning about ourselves, but then you also have white students, non-Black students in general outside of that class disrespecting us in the hallways without any repercussions and without any education on how what they may be doing is harmful. So I do think that while it is important for there to be an African American Studies class in the school, it might, what did they say? Until you're a senior. Okay, that is also important. So basically, I just want to say that Africana should be accessible to everybody. It should also be integrated into every curriculum because I know that for me, when I was taking English class, we're talking about like the Great Gatsby when like who actually cares about the Great Gatsby, right? It may be integral to whatever curriculum that you think is, I don't know, important for us to learn about. But yeah, there was like a unit on feminism and then it was pretty much white feminism, like suffragette type stuff. So yeah, I definitely think we should be integrated into all curriculum so everybody can learn about it and not just senior year and not just as an elective because these things are actually important to us. There are lived experiences. Yeah, everybody should be educated on them. So that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Malik.
The next person I have is Peter Barash.
Hi, thank you for giving me the time. I am a Bell parent, I'm a parent of a sophomore and I'm also a teacher in CPS. I guess what I would like to say tonight is that there are a lot of elements of Jones that I think we're probably all not familiar with. And one of the things that would be beneficial for the community, and I apologize if you spoke to this earlier, there was a limit on how many people could get into the call, so I got in late, is to do a top to bottom curriculum review and really look at how BIPOC is represented in your curriculum, the author choices for novels, characters in those novels, how is it represented in history classes, but then also look at some of the limitations that are put in place by the Illinois State Board of Education requirements for curriculum. As a selective enrollment school, Jones is one of the more diverse schools in a city where schools typically are not really very diverse. We're quite segregated. And we have an opportunity to create something very special here. And so I would like to see Jones administration and Jones LSC and Jones parents and Jones students out front leading the charge to put pressure on CPS in the city to do more, because some of what we're facing here isn't necessarily a Jones problem, it's an institutional problem inside of CPS. So when we talk about things that have been going on for 20 years, I would put some of that on the shoulders of the people in the school, to be more aware of these things and to do more to continually evolve the school. But I also put some of it at the feet of CPS And if we are not putting ourselves out front to lead that fight, it's going to be harder for other schools that maybe are not in a strong position to do the same. So I've heard about schools bringing in equity coaches, outside eyes who are not invested in any way in the building, to really look at these things and help give guidance to where our strengths and weaknesses are. I think that's something we could probably benefit from. So again, thank you for the time. I appreciate you guys putting this evening together. I hope something really positive can come from it.
Thanks, Peter.
Great. The next person I have is Greg Lee.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, a little dark. I am only here to address my concern with the desire to move the school resource officers. It's in my personal opinion, it's a bad idea. The problem is that, well, first of all, let me say this. I understand the concern that students and even parents have with resource officers in the school and the whole prison, the whole school to prison pipeline issue. I understand that. I understand the issue with school resource officers that have been that have done things that have been inappropriate, resource officers that have failed to de-escalate situations. I understand all of that, and those issues definitely need to be addressed. We don't have those issues with the resource officers at Jones. Our resource officers do not have a history of failing to de-escalate situations. They don't have a history of inappropriate behavior. They don't have a history of unjustifiably arresting students like their issues have been at other schools. What the students at Jones typically don't know, most of the parents at Jones don't know, most of the teachers at Jones don't know, is what the resource officers at Jones are actually doing. As a security officer at Jones, at the end of the day, my job and all of our job, to put it in the simplest term, is to risk our lives to make sure that the students are protected. If something happens in the school, we are the first line of defense to make sure that everyone is safe, that students aren't bringing weapons into the school, that outsiders aren't coming into the school trying to harm students or teachers and bringing weapons or anything else. The resource officers at Jones have on more occasions than anybody on security can, if we all were on here together, then we could bring up, have backed us up and saved our necks on more than one occasion. The students aren't aware of the situations where people with weapons have been at the school, going past the school, and we've had to get involved to try and make sure that they weren't able to do anything to any of our students. And the resource officers were there to make sure that we had the backup that we needed, because at the end of the day, we are unarmed. We don't wear vests or anything else. The only protection we have are cotton t-shirts. And I mean, at the end of the day, a cotton t-shirt's not going to stop anything. The students, the majority of the staff and the parents, they're not aware of incidents where criminal activity has been going on downtown and literally came to the door of Jones. But the reason nothing happened inside the school and the incident didn't go any further was because of the resource officer's presence. People can say what they want to. At the end of the day, if all schools don't need resource officers. I definitely believe that all schools don't, but some schools do. Jones is one of those schools, and it's not because we have bad students, it's because of where we're located. We're located in the middle of downtown. We have an extremely high percentage of homeless people, which the students see every single day. We're not the only ones at security that are stopping these homeless people from interacting with our students and harming our students. The resource officers are doing that. When our students leave outside the school, security is not the only one outside with them. The resource officers are out there patrolling during dismissal to make sure that our students are safe also. you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There have been incidents where the resource officer program does need to be addressed. And certain officers should be removed because of their behavior. We don't have that kind of an issue at Jones. So to say across the board, because of incidents at other schools and what resource officers at other schools have been done, we should get rid of ours, is throwing out the baby with the bathwater. We need to address issues that are issues and not just jump on the bandwagon with what other people are doing to just say, hey, we support it because this is what everybody else is doing. We have to think about our own safety. I mean, come on.
Hey, Greg, thank you for the input. Appreciate it. I'd like to open up the floor to the next person, Rupa. That's all right.
Yep, the next person is Tenzin Paulden.
Hi. As a freshman at Jones who has only been at Jones for roughly 6 months physically because of the strike as well as COVID, it is extremely disappointing to see the negligence coming from our administration. In my small time at Jones, I have observed and experienced racism and microaggressions time and time again. Each one was ignored by staff upon being reported. As a rising sophomore, I hope to see more action from our faculty because Jones likes to pride itself as being a diverse and inclusive school, but I believe that Jones does not deserve to have that title until they address the injustices brought onto our BIPOC students and they enforce anti-racism. This meeting does not go unappreciated, but it does feel very performative because after years of injustice at Jones, this is only now being addressed. We had alum from over 10 years ago coming forward and talking about the fact that there is racism at Jones and are disappointed that it's still there. Why isn't this problem being addressed? I frankly find it pathetic that our administration has not been doing anything to protect our BIPOC students. It has been far too long that they have overlooked the racism, the homophobia, the sexism that goes on in this school. And I hope to see you do better for the incoming freshmen and give them a better high school experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Tenzin.
Next speaker we have is Tatiana Solis.
Hi, yes, my name is Tatiana Solis. I graduated in the class of 2017. I just wanted to emphasize on the fact that I think you guys need more diverse classes. It wasn't only until college when I find out that Chicago was founded by Black men. When you look at back of the arts neighborhoods, when you look at Little Village, when you look at Pilsen, all these Chicago neighborhoods are built off of immigrants, yet the students, the white students at Jones are still acting this way. And I think it's very ridiculous. I've not only experienced these things myself, but just classes that have gone beyond me. I think it's ridiculous to say that Jones is, you guys pride yourself on a diverse school, but you guys are doing nothing to change that. So I think that hiring more teachers of color for our BIPOC students, as well as diversifying your classes. That's it.
Thanks, Tatiana.
Next speaker is Roberto Menjivar.
Hello. Just want to make sure that everyone can hear me.
Yep, we got you, Roberto.
Thank you. So I want to start off and just thank all the students, alum, and parents for participating in this session. It means a lot. I am a first parent at Jones with a rising sophomore, and this is important. And you must be involved, and you must push the LSC, and you must push the administrators to continue this dialogue and to implement this change. I really appreciate everyone's voice today and speaking your truth. To the LSC and the administrators, this is a difficult position that you're in, but a necessary position and that you have control over. And I appreciate what you're doing today and what you will continue to do to incorporate some of the ideas and suggestions into the Jones graduates. Right? One of the things that the Jones graduate values is social responsibility. And this is your social responsibility to ensure that all students are recognized and valued. It is incredibly important. And so I think one of the suggestions that I would like to make to the LSC and the administrator is to reach out to Dr. Maurice Sweeney, who's the equity officer, the CPS equity officer, and engage that office. Bring them in to do an assessment of the school and try to incorporate some of these cultural curriculums into the class. Talk to Sybil Madison, the deputy mayor for education. The two of them are incredibly wonderful people who really want to provide a quality education, a welcoming environment for all our students, especially our Black and brown students who have been marginalized for way too long in the city of Chicago. Talk to them, engage them, inquire about what resources they have to help Jones live up to its values. And if you want to go outside of those resources, talk to Dr. Beverly Daniel Canton, Dr. John B. King, the former education secretary. These are people that are available and who want you to reach out, who want our school community to reach out to them to help us support our Black and brown students. It is incredibly important. This work is incredibly important, and progress never stops. Because once progress stops, things just start to roll back. We must continue to move forward, address the issues that everyone here has raised, and ensure that we're supporting all our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto.
Okay, the next person is River W. I don't have the last name.
Yeah, hi. So I just wanted to say that, like, as a Jones student, and I'll be a senior as of the school year 2020-2021, I just think that since being there from a freshman, it has been a little bit hard to see that every time we bring something up or we bring something to admin, it only goes to a certain member of admin, and it feels like it never reaches like Dr. Powers or anyone else. It feels like we go unheard like constantly, and I don't want to be repetitive. I feel that someone's probably already said this because I joined late, but I think the fact that I can be repetitive in this sense is a problem as well. Like the fact that so many other people feel this way is such a big issue. Is that, like, how does admin not notice that so many of their students of color are hurting or feel unheard or feel unwanted or feel like they aren't being listened to? And we constantly have to deal with this. And it's not like, oh, there's one incident maybe a year where someone says something that doesn't sit right with a student of color, but it's happening almost every week, almost every day, where people keep seeing this and it keeps happening, and it's just so toxic to be in that environment consistently. So that does something over time to your students of color, and I just think it's important that our mental health also needs to be taken into account. Like, we also need to be focused on, like, at what point does admin start listening and actually start taking action? Because it's one thing to listen to us, but it's another thing to hear us and to do something about it.
Thank you, River.
We have our last speaker is Alexis Juante.
Hi, so I wanted to begin by saying that faculty and staff should really look at the Instagram page or even the Google Doc that was shared into the chat and look at all the stories that students are sharing about their experiences and just the discomfort they feel within an environment that should be safe. Also, I'm the class of 2017 from Jones, and I came in as a CTE student, which was in 2017. That was the first year that Jones started the program. And as a former CTE student, the CTE program needs to be appreciated and included within the student body. With my first year at Jones, I entered through the law program, and many friends were part of the program who live in the boundaries, which include neighborhoods such as Pilsen and Little Village. And classism within Jones is a huge problem and creates a division among the students. And a lot of the students who are in CTE are BIPOC students, and they need to be included within the entire student body. And the whole idea of freedom of speech, yes, I understand that students have that right, and we all have that right, but there's a certain extent to where if you cross that line and you're making other students feel uncomfortable or not safe in school, that's a problem, and admin needs to stop using that as an excuse to basically allow students to continue to be racist, sexist, classist, and all that. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thanks, Alexis.
The next speaker I have is Essence.
Hi, everybody. My name is Essence Smith. I'm 11. I am just appalled and saddened and really hurt to just be hearing that these issues are still going on. Like my counterpart Will said earlier, about 20 minutes ago or so, I was a part of that body of students that fought hard and long to be taught our history. We woke up at 5 a.m. every day to make sure that we got to school at 0 period at the crack of dawn, to make sure that we were able to learn our history, to be taught our history, and to hear that, you know, these issues are still going on, and quite honestly, nothing seems to have changed. Maybe some going backwards, quite honestly, in progress. Seems like it's happened since I've been there. It's disgusting. Even the way that the administration on this call is sitting in their seats, slumped over, looking like they're not even giving to these issues is also disheartening and disgusting. You know, I see a lot about Jones. We were always taught about being, you know, a well-rounded individual, you know, learning to be socially equipped, and all of these things in the mission. I don't know if the mission has changed, but from when I was there, it was about being a holistic and well-rounded individual. Jones and the administration uses Black kids, Black boys, and Black girls to make themselves look good, but at the end of the day, there has been no representation in the staff. There has been no true effort to make us feel safe. I look back on photos from when I was there 9 years ago, or whatever the math is, 2011, 2020 now, yes, 9 years ago, and I see photos when I didn't even know. I was 15, I had no idea what was appropriate or what was not appropriate. I have photos with me and my friends that I'm still very close with today. That's one thing Jones did right, is that I have great friends that I met from there. And we have photos of these parole officers, or whatever you guys call it, that is supposed to be security in the school, you know, holding us, and they have on, I don't know why he was wearing underwear, but at the time I guess it was accepted that a security officer could get close enough to two girls and take a photo with them with only briefs on. I can post that picture, I can share it to whoever needs it, but these are the things that as young women, we didn't know that this was inappropriate. As I look back now, I am disgusted that administration and security and anyone in the school that was above the age of an actual student even let that slide. I think about other times where white kids in the school for Halloween dressed up as one of our teachers, complete blackface, and did not get in trouble. However, we see that Black students, Black boys, Black girls are constantly policed. I don't know how many times I was told that my shorts were too short. I don't know how many times I was told that I was showing too much cleavage. However, you allow white boys and white girls to do what they want to do and get away with it completely with very little repercussions. Fix your administration, do what is just, do not lean on Black boys and Black girls to make you look good. Treat them like they're good and treat them the way they deserve. I also have had the opportunity to grow up with, like I said, friends, and we've been able to build an amazing organization. And the fact that you guys often reach out to people that are now being, that you did not respect back then. We all know who I'm talking about. You did not respect him back then, and how many inquiries we get about him coming back to the school to provide some sort of or just celebration, or however it can help you guys. You guys only want the Black people and only want to respect us when it is beneficial to you. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you, Essence.
We have Elliot and Danielle Katz.
Hi, I am a rising sophomore at Jones. I am a non-BIPOC student, and I am ashamed of how my school is being run. When I first came to Jones, the 2019 school year, I loved the building, I loved the people, and I thought I was in an amazing, diverse school and was ready to learn. And as my school year has gotten forward and gotten closer and closer to the end, my image of Jones has been shattered. I have seen students sitting at tables in classes assigned by teachers separated by race. I have seen so many white kids get away with actions that are unacceptable and would have been prosecuted heavily if they were African American. And it's unacceptable how our school is being run. During the first quarter of the school year, we had Jones Eagle leaders that were there to teach us about microaggressions and advert racism and whatnot. And that is not enough. We need to have a true curriculum to teach the students what is wrong. Because I know that the way that white kids treated these classes were dismissive and as, oh, wow, I get to sit in the classroom and be on my phone instead of getting to have a real ACT lab. And that's unacceptable. We need to be doing better. We shouldn't have to rely on juniors and seniors to teach the incoming freshman class about what they can't do. That should just be taught in general. It really shakes me to my core, the way that we are treating these kids and the way that we are dismissing white kids for their unacceptable actions. And yes, it is the students being racist, but we need to have administration treat them as if they are being racist and not dismissive. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot.
The next one we have is Quentin B.J. Williams.
Can everyone hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Awesome. Yeah, I graduated in 2014 and I'm a Southside native. And I just wanted to be painfully clear, because it's been painfully clear just from everyone else's words, that just attending Jones, we were supposed to feel that pride going there. And then it became very apparent that we weren't treated like the pride that we should have been treated like. I would travel from the South Side and wake up at 3:30 in the morning to get to school, and I was a part of No Child Left Behind. So I realized I had a lot to do to catch up. And when I would get to school, a lot of the times people would accuse me of being high. And at the same time, I would witness on multiple occasions white students literally doing drugs in the hallways or in class, and they wouldn't be reprimanded or scolded at all, So just me, no one witnessing me doing anything bad, just being a Black kid and showing up and trying to do the right thing. And I was, profiled and taken out, and I witnessed microaggressions towards myself. It's very disheartening, and it's crazy for me to even have to talk about this. I would hope after 6 years of being graduated, it would change, but it sucks that we still are going through this, and I really want it to change, and I want everyone to be held to the same standard, and no one should be treated equally, or no one should be treated different just because they're trying to, stand out. And that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Quentin.
That's all I have for right now, Tim. Jesus, did I miss anybody else?
I don't see anyone else who hasn't already spoken with their hand raised, and I didn't get anything in the chats.
This video be posted elsewhere for people to see?
I didn't catch that. Was it somebody?
In the chat about where the video for this meeting is gonna get posted. Dr. Powers, can you speak to that?
Would be posted to the website, would be the most centralized location for it. We'll work out how it was to be posted, along with the group chat information as well. Those will all be part of the record. But definitely the video should be able to be posted to the website.
Well, thank you to everybody who participated. As we mentioned, this is a first step. This is a listening session, and we hope to draw plenty of action from this. At this time, I'd like to move forward with the rest of our business that we have at hand. And so everybody who's on the LSC, well, anybody who cared to get a copy of the agenda, you have the agenda. And right now we need to take care of the normal July meeting business, which is the nominations and selection of a chair. And then we need to nominate, select our secretary, our vice chair, the Information Act and open meeting administrator. And then we will set the meeting schedule for the rest of the year. I'm not sure if we have a way to mute. If anybody can just please mute if you're.
Is Dr. Powers going to say anything? Because if you've been reading the chat, all of us have been demanding that he say something. And I think it's pretty timely that he should address all of the concerns that we've had.
This was stated at the beginning that our plan is to have a listening session today, and we are taking all of the feedback into consideration. So it was not. It was addressed at the beginning that we would not be addressing any of the questions.
I mean, we would love to listen to what he has to say.
Yeah, that's big trash. But I mean, y'all got it.
If the purpose of the listening session is to actually listen to students, and the way that we are at Jones community, we are asking for Dr. Powers to at least acknowledge, not even acknowledge, this is the bare minimum, given the fact that a lot of us have experienced so much trauma at Jones. I know this is an LSC meeting, but he's here and he's listening. So then please acknowledge that you are, and maybe say something because all of us are asking.
Peterson, may I speak just briefly?
Certainly.
Okay. Again, this was intended to be a listening session, and that we would not actually be trying to respond in any way, but to listen. Throughout this meeting, I've taken notes on all the comments that have been made, and we'll be utilizing those as part of the decision making as we move forward. At this particular point, it's difficult for me to respond to different things that have been said other than to say that we are listening to what this is. We're reading the comments in the Instagram posts that have been going on now for several weeks, and trying to address those as well. I can say that many of the things that have been shared are things that we have known about, things we have acted upon, and very often people do not realize that if they do not hear what the result was of an incident and how it was handled, that is because we are not allowed to, by law and ethically, to share that kind of information. it sounds untransparent. That is true, and that is something that we have to work with because that is the law, and we have to stick with that. In the meantime, please be assured that we are listening to what you all are saying, that we are integrating that into our discussions and making sure that we address those things in the best way we can over the coming weeks and months, continuing on into the new school year and beyond that. So thank you very much. Again, I'm so sorry that some people find my comments to be ridiculous and clownish. I apologize if that is the case. I have been listening. I have not been slouched in my chair. I've been taking notes and listening to what everyone was saying. And we are going to be acting on many of these things, and certainly these will help us to inform our decision making in the coming weeks and months. Thank you very much.
If this
Thank you.
is just a listening session, does this mean that there will be another session where admin will speak out about how they feel and what will be happening? Hopefully not in the next few months, hopefully weeks.
Yeah, what's the follow-up?
So if you look at the statement that we issued as an LSC, you know, our follow-up is to aim toward developing a plan for the school year. And to the extent that we have authority to do that, we will work with administration and with the staff and students to come up with that.
Hi, can I just ask one question? Again, this is Jacqueline. I'm a parent of a rising freshman. I do have to say I am a little concerned that we haven't heard from teachers. Are there any teachers or faculty who are willing to speak up in defense of their students?
Tim, I'm willing to talk briefly about why that may exist as a PPLC representative. If that would be helpful.
Sure.
So I would just I would say that yesterday the PPLC meets, which is a state mandated body made up of staff. We had a meeting to discuss the listening session, how we wanted to respond as faculty, how we wanted to respond to Instagram, and how we wanted to talk to administration. And I believe that teachers have, a lot of teachers expressed their intent to listen today to students and community members because there were other opportunities for us to speak, as well as teachers, and I don't have the figures in front of us, but an overwhelming majority of teachers submitted a petition earlier this year to admin for lots of the changes of the student petition, some similarities to the student petition. I would say that I think that the two of them working together are really, have a lot of great points. And I'll speak on that just personally. And so I know a lot of teachers today wanted to just make sure they were taking the time to listen to students.
Thanks, Mr. Gilmore.
Hi, my name is Peter Palladini. I'm a science teacher at Jones. I just wanted to butt in real quick and just to say that I'm very proud of our students for using their voice to help make their school better, because they're really taking the power into their own hands, and they're really concerned about their learning, and they should really be a source of inspiration and motivation for everyone here. I'd like to make sure that adults really refrain on defensiveness during this time, because we hold those accountable whom we care about, and we should listen to our students' voices with open hearts. And I want to just say shout out to Ariane and all my other Ashlynn and all my other students who spoke. You know, your voices are being heard.
Hi, I don't know if I'm allowed to speak. I'm a parent, and I came in late. I apologize, but I'm wanting more transparency at this point for the next steps. Can anyone address concretely what Jones has planned for their next steps after this listening session, and if there are dates and deadlines that you're thinking about for this. Thank you.
Mr. Peterson, may I go ahead and speak?
Yes.
All of this is evolving very quickly, so it's very difficult to say that we have specific dates and deadlines for a lot of things. I can tell you that the issue of the school resource officers is on the agenda for the August LSC meeting, and we will be discussing that at that time, and the LSC will be voting on that at that time, whether to retain the program or not. The petition from the students with the list of recommendations is something that we've only seen in the last 2 or 3 days, so it's important for us to be able to study that. I would like to meet with the students who presented it. I know it was a wide participation, but there were a number of students who were involved in it, and meet with them so we can discuss what those plans are that they have in mind and things they would like us to address. So that's going to be happening in the coming weeks to make sure that we have some forward momentum with regard to that.
Hi.
Also, if I could just finish up on that. Mr. Gilmer mentioned the proposals from the PPLC, the teachers group. We're meeting tomorrow to discuss those. We began discussions back in March, immediately, actually within a few days before the school closures, and we were unable to bring that back together again until school was out, and we're actually meeting this week to discuss those. And that'll be a good opportunity for us to put that in perspective, along with the recommendations from the students as well.
I just would like to say or point out that you stated that this is evolving very quickly, but you have students and alumni on here from 2009 saying that they've been bringing this to you. So I find it hard to believe that it's so hard to come up with some sort of solution for this when it's been going on for so long. You're telling me this hasn't been in the back of admin's mind for almost 10 years? This is not evolving quickly. This is a problem that has been at Jones for longer than any of us have been there. Like, there's no way that the students should feel the pressure of this issue on them to have to speak to admin and tell our stories constantly and just have to keep saying this. And I'm so sorry that I interrupted, but I'm just so angry at this point that we have to keep saying this over and over again, and that has been happening for generations at Jones, and the only people that have been there consistently is admin. So I find that it is completely just out of reach for the students to have to figure this out on their own, for the students to have to come up with a plan of action, for the students to have to figure out how to fix this problem when we haven't even been there as long as it's been going on. This has been going on for 10 years. I've only been there for 3. Why do we have to figure out how to fix this? I'm so sorry, but I am so angry. Like, I'm so fed up.
Thank you.
I would also like to point out that you're saying these dates are flexible or whatnot. As students, we're very used to having due dates, and it'd be very nice if you could just set a concise date and work around the date rather than saying we need to come up with a plan, but we'll get it to you when we need it. Seriously, set a date, give us something by that date, and we can revise it as a school to see if it functions. But it's unacceptable to just say we're going to go at our own pace and we'll get back to you with something.
Thank you, Elliot. That's not what I said, but thank you very much for your comment.
Excuse me, it just seems to be a condescending nature that comes with some responses because it doesn't feel like we're being heard. With just as Pauline said, it can seem a little bit defensive when we're just trying to speak our truth. And honestly, I'm getting fed up of speaking my truth. I've been speaking my truth since freshman year, and I'm about to be a senior. And I have friends, and I see people, and I've participated in open house, and I encourage African American students of color to join and come to this community. And I honestly felt ashamed of myself because I shouldn't be trying to put somebody in a position that I'm in, because this is not a high school experience that I expected or wanted. I'm going to accept my blessings and enjoy the good things that do come out of Jones. However, I think it really has to be acknowledged that like we shouldn't have a due date anymore. It should have been happened. It should have been occurred years ago. We are already as a nation like fighting this issue, and we shouldn't have to feel like this literally in our every day to day. Like this was things that were going on in the past, and I think that it should really stay in the past. And we all know that, and we all need to take action and hold yourselves accountable. Just as students have to hold themselves accountable for the mistakes that they make, you as well as administration need to just really reevaluate the situation and really take a step back to see like I am running an institution that has numerous of students like outcrying for them to improve the situation and just make everything like better. Like we just want to see and feel heard and understand that we know that things aren't going to be perfect all the time, but we do expect for you all to just bring some more to the table. We can't keep screaming and crying in front of you and you just mocking us at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Not my intention to do anything other than to listen to people and to try and act in the best interest of everyone at the school. At this particular time, we're trying to absorb all the things that are being said, to go back and determine where some of these issues have arisen and how they've arisen, and how we can do what we can do to correct the situation and move forward in a very positive way.
Excuse me, can I speak?
Sure.
Okay, so from the absorbing all the information and the trying to put it back into the community, and like let's start off with like the stuff like the seminars. The seminars are what's starting people to acknowledge the fact that this is a problem, but the fact that whenever there are seminars, the people in the administration, they absorb it and it goes in one ear and out of the other. There's constantly disrespect, blatant disregard for the minorities at our school. And for several years, and since I've been at Jones, I've always felt uncomfortable, unwelcome, disrespected, disgusted at the fact that I have to complain to just one teacher, to just one staff member about how my race at my school isn't being represented correctly. It's the silly thing is that a lot of times we come to teachers and administration and it's always a yes, we hear you. It's always a this is cool and we're going to try to do something about it, but nothing is ever done about it. This has happened time and time again, and the more and more that it gets talked about and the more and more that it's not addressed, the more and more that I'm getting fed up. It's disgusting, it's rude, and it's really starting to, like, I'm like, my heart rate is increasing right now because I'm increasingly angry. Like, it's so disgusting and disrespectful and rude that nobody has seriously tried to do something about it. Yes, you may say that you're doing something about it, and I completely understand that you have a lot of students to look after, but it's the fact that the minorities collectively are being disgusted as an entire group and are not being helped as an entire group, and everybody's just sat there, listened, and did nothing. It's really confusing me because we have a voice and we can't keep being ignored by something so big and something that's going to impact our lives for the rest of our lives. Like, it's nerve-wracking, and like, I'm jumbling up my words, but it's so nerve-wracking. It's so frustrating. It's so irritating that this has happened since 2009, which means that people have been telling y'all this since the get-go, and nobody has done anything. From at least what I've seen, nobody has done anything. The Instagram posts, the Snapchats, the petitions, all of it, it seriously needs to have some sort of action. We can't beat around the bush at this issue any longer. Thank you.
Hi,
Thank you.
I am a parent of Andrea Salamanca, and I just want to begin by commending everyone who has had the courage to speak. These are difficult conversations, but I also think that it's incredibly important to take action. I think there's been plenty of time to absorb, listen, There's been a very positive approach to bringing awareness to the table, and the lack of action is disheartening. We talk about educating our kids and providing a platform for every child to have an opportunity. But when there is this kind of behavior happening from people who are supposed to serve the community as leaders, again, quite frankly, it's disheartening and disgusting, to be honest with you. So I appreciate how respectful everyone who has spoken has been, and I commend you for being upstanders. But I think as adults, I think we need to hear their voices loud and clear, and I think create action, because continuing to listen and not moving forward with action is just being a bystander. Thank you.
Excuse me, can I talk?
Thank you.
So, recently there's been like that page, the Jones.
Pardon me, Shirley. I hate to interrupt, but you were already able to speak, and I think we've got to maybe just let a few people who haven't spoken before go ahead. I think it's good that we're having a dialogue, but I think we need to kind of rein things in a little bit and move forward. So if there's another, if there's still more folks that would like to speak, if you can type into the chat again to Rupa, that's fine. Rupa, are you getting any folks putting their name into the chat? Mr. Gilmer can unmute them.
Hi, sorry, Tim. I wasn't able to unmute myself. Donna Friedman had asked to speak. I can start putting a list back together if we're going to continue public comment.
I'm open to continuing. I would just request that we have new people express their feelings.
So my name is Donna Friedman. I graduated in 2018. I am a half white, half Latina person. I have never experienced any firsthand. Nothing has ever happened to me, but going to Jones, I've seen so many of my friends and so many of other classmates, people in my class, people outside of my class, people who graduated before me, people who are still in school go through all of these things. I also just want to acknowledge the fact that I think it was extremely rude. I get that you want to give everybody a chance to speak, but this is also a listening party or whatever you called it for people to have their voices heard. So for you to cut off, I believe her name was Shirley, for you to cut off Shirley and not let her say what she thought was necessary to be said for things to change in this school, for future students to be comfortable, for current students to feel comfortable going to school and be proud of their school and be proud of where they come from, is entirely unacceptable. It's rude and it should not happen. Going back to Dr. Powers saying that he legally can't say anything or by law, whatever he said, trash. No disrespect, Dr. Powers. However, this is not the time and the place for you to be hiding behind the law. This is not something that you guys should be saying, well, we have to follow the rules. For what? You're scared of losing your jobs? You don't care about the students? It's clear you don't care about the students, or else this shit wouldn't be happening. Sorry for my profanity, but it's ridiculous at this point. Like I said, I've never experienced anything firsthand, but I've seen it happen. I've heard stories. I graduated from Jones 2 years ago. I love Jones. I loved my friends. I loved so many of my teachers. But the way that things are being handled needs to stop. And I know that that's been said by 9,000 people. But there's more than just
the racist comments. There's more than just the rapists and all of the sexual assault and harassment things that people are ignoring. And really the only thing that I wanted to say before any of this was that Shirley should not have been cut off, but now I'm on a rant, so I'm going to stop. I think, one, Dr. Powers, if you want to say something, say something. Don't hide behind the law. Don't do any of that crap, because it's unacceptable at this point, and people are just going to not like you. And I know you don't care about that because of the reputation that you uphold with the people who do really like you and do really care about you. But at this point, it's bull. And everyone is tired of it. And Jones, because you guys pride yourselves on having such a diverse group of students, that's all numbers. But the way that students actually feel and the way that students actually care about where they're going, feeling unsafe and feeling uncomfortable about a lot of things is not okay. And it shouldn't be okay to you. And if you really do care about the students that you say, the way that you say you do, you should be doing something about it and not, like I said, hiding behind the law. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker that I have is Sarika Jopalapuri.
Hi, my name is Sarika. I'm a Jones alum, and Jones admin, especially Dr. Powers, have continued to ignore the demands of student organizers and protect abusers within our own school. Jones would be a much safer place if we listened to students of color instead of having SROs. Our administration needs to be willing to meet our demands and make concrete changes to move towards becoming an anti-racist institution, and Dr. Powers has proved that he is not willing to do that. Jones students deserve a principal that actually listens to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarika. The next person we have is Veronica Llamas.
Hi. So I did not want to speak because I wanted to listen to my Black and Brown students at first, or my Black and Brown peers, sorry. Really nervous right now because I am tired of crying and sobbing to my counselor after microaggressions that the staff and my teachers have constantly displayed. I am tired of Dr. Powers silencing students. I didn't want to go to admin when all of these incidents occurred because I didn't think much would happen. And from what I've been hearing, I am not surprised. And it's disappointing. I have had one of my teachers assume that I am an undocumented immigrant. I have had one of my teachers call me Dora. I have seen my Black peers constantly being silenced, and I am tired of it. I just think that, honestly, it's absurd. And for you to constantly be pushing this aside and saying that this is all coming in too fast and we can't really decide on a date for now or what the next step should be is ridiculous. You have been knowing about this for years. There should be no reason as towards why you can't comprehend that we need to see some change now. That's all.
Thank you. The next speaker that we have is Shirley Rhodes.
All right. Hi, so I was trying to speak earlier, and for this, I was raped when I was 9 years old, and I was constantly raped for a year, and for him to mute me made me feel that all over again. All I want to start is by saying that there's this one boy who tried to rape this girl, and he's all right. I've been hearing a bunch of incidents where he had been sexually harassing multiple girls. On the Instagram, if you go to that one post of the girl speaking her truth. A lot of girls on Snapchat and on Instagram commented on it, saying that he would talk about their bodies, he would do stuff to them, and that makes me so disgusting that he gets to be at Jones. He shouldn't be there. He should have been expelled. And I've been and I've heard that there's a protocol in place for sexual harassment reports, and should go report to the police. You guys should give parents options to see what they can do. And after this whole trend thing happened, I talked to a teacher about it, how I didn't feel safe. And the teacher said that they were gonna follow me up on it, and they never did. Imagine me. And I was also gonna suggest this too. I need therapy. I need to go through this with somebody because I never got the chance to. And there should be someone at school who knows how to handle stuff like that, because I'm from a low income community. I can't afford to go to get therapy and stuff. If I were to, I have to get waitlisted. When I got waitlisted, it was like a 7-month period. I can't wait 7 months to get therapy. What if I decide I can't take it no more? What if the voices in my brain tell me to just whatever? What I'm saying is that I can't wait 7 months to get therapy. I need to get help right now. And I don't know what else to say, but that's all.
All right, the next speaker we have is Arun.
Hi there, can you hear me? Hi, I don't know if y'all will be able to hear me, but I'm a parent of two at Jones. One that's an incoming sophomore transfer, and one that's will be a senior this year. And I just want to say that our kids, my senior, has had a wonderful experience at Jones. Every teacher has been top notch, and I hope whatever changes that are implemented will continue the high standards of academic progress and standards that Jones stands for, and the kids that my son has been in contact with, the friends and relationships he's developed. I hope that, and I expect that they'll be able to continue over a lifetime of contribution into society. So I know that no institution is perfect, and there's always things that can be done in order to improve everyone's experience, everyone's improvement in their academic progress and the realization of their dreams. And I hope that Jones continues to do the good work, but even improve based on the input that they've received this evening, as well as the changes that are being contemplated for the fall. Thank you.
Next speaker is Ashlynn Bolton.
Hi, I spoke earlier. I wrote it down because I felt as though what I said should be clear and obvious, but apparently it's not. Earlier when you silenced Shirley, I felt as though you missed the whole point of everything. We came here and we came here and thought that you were listening. But the issue is that we've continued to be silenced. Everything that we say, everything that we do is for a reason, it's for a purpose. And we come here and when I go to school, I came there to learn. But it seems as if going to Jones, my education doesn't matter anymore because the social environment is trash, is garbage, it means nothing. And it takes me down so that it's no longer about my education, and it comes with me throughout the rest of my life. When I meet people who aren't of color, I'm nervous of the way that they'll treat me, the way that they'll regard who I am, because I've seen so much at Jones. I've seen so many traumatizing things, heard so many traumatizing things. And to see these people in this chat from years ago, from when I was smaller, to know that they know how this feels and they feel the need to come back, it shows that it impacted them in their lifestyles, the way that they go about things, the fact that they've been scarred so much that they feel the need to come back and say something. And Dr. Powers, I honestly believe, I don't think you deserve your position at all. I won't lie to you. Because it's the fact that you can sit here and respond and say thank you, and you can say things to us as if our opinions don't matter. You can be so passive aggressive about things that we're telling you, you're impacting my life. Your students here telling you that they think about killing themselves. They're telling you the things that you do, the decisions that you make on a daily basis, it's impacting them so much more than you believe it does. So the fact that you can hold that position and think that it's just a job, like you're not impacting our lives, it's bizarre. And I think that you deserve to lose your job. You can't hold that position, and you can't hold that position with as much strength that you need to, because there's no reason why I should be talking to Mr. Mitchell only about everything that I face at this school. That's the only person that I've had a conversation with, and I felt like he would actually do something. And he's actually tried to do some things. But then he becomes a scapegoat when they say, oh, Jones doesn't do enough. But we talked to Mr. Mitchell, and he can only do so much. It's no reason why that's the person that I have to go to. It's no reason why I haven't even had a real conversation with you. I barely knew who you were for my first 2 years attending this school. And that's bizarre to me, because why aren't you making sure that I know who you are? It's no reason why students of color feel the need to come to LSC meetings and speak out and say what's wrong and say that, oh, they face so many different things. Students from so long ago have to come and speak to us and make us feel comfortable with this situation, because it should not have gone this far. And the fact that you're saying, oh, we hear you, or you're saying that we might be repetitive, the fact that we have to be repetitive, the fact that we have to continuously say the same thing, you are oppressing us. We are oppressed. We are surrounded by our sexual harassers. Our rapists are in the same classroom as us. The person who called me the N-word is sitting next to me giggling. And I have an issue because you seem as though you care so much about them, so much more about them than you care about me, that they can still sit here and be fine. But if I get into a fight on 63rd Street, I just might get expelled because you found out about it. It's no reason why that's the just ground for anything. So if honestly, I don't care any policies that you think you might create. I know for a fact that you reflect the issues that we are facing, the issues that we see. Your values are reflecting that, because you feel the need to just sit there and let it happen. So we can go past you. We can do things beyond this. We can go about this legally if we have to, because it has nothing to do with you anymore. We will make sure that this institute, this situation, this foundation, it will all get broken down. And I promise you, I will make sure that it happens before I leave that building, before I graduate. I graduate in the class of 2021. I promise you this will be over with, because I won't accept it anymore, and I don't expect it to go on for any other generations. And I will make sure that any student who tells me they're interested in Jones, don't go there. It's not worth it. Go be a dolphin. Thank you.
The next speaker I have is Asya Bray.
Hi, I am Asia Bray. I am a graduate in the class of 2020. And first of all, I would just like to say thank you to every single one of the people who have already spoken. You students of the class of 2021, you make me proud, because you are standing and you are using your platform to make changes in a school that you are still going to have to attend. I applaud you and how much you have the strength to talk about your struggles. I thank every single one, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, everybody, even the alumni, for getting on here and having the nerve, the gall to say whatever it is you had on your mind for however many years you've had it on your mind, because this is important. And in the current climate, this means that we need to take actions against these things. I have been a student at Jones since my freshman year. I was so excited to be a part of this community. But as the years went on, there was incidents where I saw, like Ashlynn said, where Mr. Mitchell was the only person to respond to an issue, or where teachers did not want to respond to an issue that they knew about, or where teachers acted ignorant about what students' actions were happening in their classroom. I think that we really, really need to listen to your students, the students that still go to your school because they make up your body. They pay the fees to keep your doors open. You need to listen to what they have to say. Because what was said before by Ashlynn and Samaya and River and all of these students of color who make up the majority of your colored body needs to be recognized, because you do pride yourself on being a diverse community, but you are not being inclusive and you are not being fair. Equality and fairness are not the same thing. Everybody getting the same opportunity. If I need glasses, but you say you still gave me a book, that does not help me. So you need to be more than just equal. You need to be fair, and you need to treat everybody with the same respect that you want for yourself. You need to put forward your foot, because you wouldn't want your children to be going through this. You need to put your best foot forward in order to change this. It should not be a conversation that happened 10 years ago that is happening now. There is no reason why we are still fighting for something that they were fighting for in 2009. If I'm sitting here and I'm asking questions since I came to your school in 2016 and they have still not been answered today, and you are putting this back on your agenda, but there has not been action, that is a problem. Silence is violence. You are not helping the issues by saying, well, I can't say anything now. Make a plan and act upon your plan and actually do it. Do not just make promises and say that you are going to do these things, because I have a parent that was on LSC for all of my elementary school life. I know how the system works. So for you to put out a plan and say, oh, I'm going to make a plan, we need follow-up. There needs to be another meeting after this. There needs to not be empty promises. And I implore you students that are still going to Jones to continue to ride them until you see the change that you want, because this will not end with the class of 2020, the class of 2021, class of 2022, or class of 2023. This will continue to go on because it's still going on from 2009. I'm sorry, I am very loud and my house is echoey, but this is a thing that has been weighing on your students' hearts, and it really needs to be changed. Dr. Powers, I applaud you because your job is not easy. It is really not easy running a school, but your lax energy is not going to make a difference. And to not have your teachers and faculty of color here and represented on your LSC either is really an issue. Where's our representation in our faculty body? Where is it? Because I have not seen it. I came in as a freshman with a teacher that was just starting here as a Black teacher, and immediately he was gone, and we got maybe another one. But where's my representation in the people that are supposed to be teaching me? Where is my representation in the people that I see in the hallway? Because all I see on each side are students of any descent that is not my race. I see white students all around me echoing in the hallway, being a disruptance. But when we have a problem as students of color, it is always our fault first. It is never taken into account the students of white descent that when they make a problem, there is no solution for them. There's a slap on the wrist. They say, we give you 3 days and we will see you on Monday. That is literally not how this should work. If I am going to stand here as a graduate who loved my high school and stand with my students that are still going there, I want to know that if I ever decided to come back and teach at Jones, to come and bring my students to Jones as a parent, that there will be differences in what has been promised to us, because promises need to be kept if you're going to make them. That is a discipline. You do not make promises if you do not intend to keep them. So listen, but don't just hear your students. Listen and take a pen to paper, make a meeting, make something that is tangible, that is more than just your words, so that we know that our admin actually care about us. Because if you don't, that needs to be apparent, that needs to be transparent, that needs to be something that is established when you walk through these doors, to know that myself as a student will not be heard in my community. That really just needs to be, that just needs to be said. So thank you for your time, and continue to give your time to your students and their parents and your faculty who are fighting against what they see is wrong. Thank you.
The next speaker I have is Sanaya Kodavarti.
Hi, it's actually Sanya Kodavarti. I'm currently actually rising sophomore at Jones, and I am on SGA, the current president for the class of 2023. And I personally got to sit in on a meeting with BSU and admin, as well as some of my fellow SGA members. And that was not intended to be a listening meeting, but quite frankly, it felt like one. And I'm here not representing SGA and not speaking for them, but I know that we can do our part more. And personally, I know that even though I am a person of color, I have a lot of privilege just within that group. And in my experience, I have not experienced blatant racism at Jones, but I have an older brother who is an alum, and I've heard stories from him and his friends about racism that they've experienced or from other people, or that other people have experienced. And also, I'd like to point out that I don't have a single Black teacher, and I think that's really important to have that education.
Yeah, this is Ravi Kodavarti as well. I am Sania's dad, and as she mentioned, she had a brother who graduated last year, and she's a rising sophomore. And we've heard a lot of things at this point, okay? However, as I hear through an hour long or hour and a half long, it pains me. It pains me that, there is a systematic suppression. I realize to the extent, I've heard these stories, some of them, but I did not realize the extent of it. And honestly, I'm ashamed at myself that I did not look for it. I looked for the nice in Jones. I looked for the sugar-coated Jones, as a lot of parents do. And I did not look for what's wrong. And there's a lot of it lying under the surface. And one thing I'm going to point to the administration and the LSC is that listening session is not enough. Hiding behind laws is not enough. This is a cultural problem. This is not a single incident that is being pointed out. So please, the students have asked at this point, come up with a plan. we as adults, you as the administration, you as the LSC need to be held accountable to that, saying that you're going to come up with a plan, which is that, and I get it, that I've been in tough situations in other administrations, so I'm not asking you to come up with a plan and say that you're going to do this in the next 2 weeks. But but as others know, there's a date for a date. Give us a date at this point saying that when are you going to come up with a plan? When is the next meeting that's going to be beyond the session of we're listening, but here's what are the steps we're going to take. Here's the transparency that we're going to show. Here's the cultural change that we're going to do. And what are we going to do about it? What are the steps we're going to do with respect to Black teachers? What are we going to do with respect to the administration? What transparency will be there? What will be available on a website for people to see? Is there going to be an open forum for dialogue? Give us a plan. You don't have to solve all those things in one day or 1 week, but you need to be able to solve that. You need to be able to take the phased approach and show it to us and show that you're willing to make that cultural change. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kodavarty. Thank you for unmuting me, Mr. Gilmer. Just so everybody knows, this is a first for me running a meeting like this, and it's been very eye-opening, and I feel a lot of pain, especially as a white man right now. And thankfully, there's been some other members of the LSC who've been emailing me, and for them, this has been very eye-opening as well. And so we are going to call an emergency meeting of the LSC to get some dates defined. And I want to just tell you that we're hearing you, and that's really what I can say at this point. I'm not a professional at this by any means. I'm trying to contribute and help out as best I can. So I hope that the plan for us as an LSC to get together and have an emergency meeting will give some of your voices some credit, some credence, because we're listening, and that's all I really have to say at this point.
The next speaker that we have, Tim, is Crystal Alvarez. Crystal Alvarez. Okay, I'll keep her on the list and we can go to the next person, and then Crystal, I'll call your name right after the next person.
Crystal, can you just send me a message real quick so I can just unmute you? Can you just send me directly a message and I'll unmute you really quick?
Yep.
Hi, my name is Crystal. I'm an alum of the class of 2018, and I just wanted to say that it shouldn't get to the point where students feel the need to have to report their teachers to admin. If you decide to be a teacher, you're deciding to put in the effort to go to school and to teach. You have to decide in that moment that you decide to become a teacher to put in the effort to unlearn your microaggressions. Maybe before hiring people, Jones can figure out a way, and I know that there are like personality tests to do this and stuff. There's definitely resources online. Maybe you guys should screen people for their prejudices if you so badly need to hire people who have them in the first place. These people are here to teach people how to grow. They're here to, like everybody says, they're teachers. They're shaping the next generation. What are they teaching us? That we don't have any value in society? Jones claims to be diverse, but they're not adding any sustenance to the lives of their people of color, their students of color there. There are teachers who teach POC literature, who are POC themselves, who excuse colorism and machismo repeatedly. And I know that this has been since they started at the school. And there are teachers who have written personalized emails to Black students addressing their prejudice, and there was no follow-up from admin to the students. There was no reprimand on the teacher that we were made aware of. So even if there was, it didn't mean anything to us because it was so swept under the rug. We didn't get the chance to feel heard or seen or like our voices mattered like Jones wants us to think. I've had guidance counselors laugh in my face. You're not going to make a healthy environment for students if you keep doing this. And if you're not going to make a healthy environment for students to feel comfortable opening up to their guidance counselors, at least provide them with resources outside of school. POC staff often side with our white counterparts, and that involves classmates and teachers, even if that means putting other students on the spot, which they have been very known to do. There isn't as much allyship as Jones wants us to think if they're not doing anything to change the things that people have been talking about. That's all.
The next person I have is Valerie Lauder.
Valerie should be unmuted.
Okay, we can come back to Valerie. Angela Martinez.
Well, I just want to preface this by saying that initially going into Jones, I was like really, excited, right? Because it was like an opportunity that I probably couldn't find in my own neighborhood. And so as soon as like the school year started, I was like so shocked to see how many microaggressions I would experience as a POC woman. And I think one of the most memorable ones was when I showed up to a meeting. It was in the beginning of the year, and it was supposed to like inform the parents of what would happen like during the whole year and what was to be expected and other meetings. And so my mom, who does not know English, and her native language is Spanish. We were kind of nervous, but she took me. I had to stay late so I could translate for her. And so when we showed up, there was a counselor, and my mom asked me to ask if there was going to be any meetings in Spanish. And so I did, and she said that there was going to be a meeting upstairs in the library for that was in Spanish. And when we showed up, I was kind of surprised that initially that they did set up a meeting for that. But then I noticed that there were only three parents, and I think that's because of the fact that, first of all, they did not communicate that the meeting was going to be in Spanish. Second of all, the person who was translating in Spanish was in broken Spanish, and I think it really hit hard because even in my other elementary schools, I noticed how parents who do not speak English are belittled and they're dismissed. And this kept on happening time and time again with my mom. Just last year, my brother, she wanted to schedule a 504 plan meeting with my brother. And at the time, he still wasn't signed up with the 504 plan. And so she tried setting up a meeting for months and months and months and months. It was like for 5 months, I think. And his counselor did not even show up once he got the meeting. And my mom could not miss much work. And she was taking the one day off that she could, and he showed up late. And once he was there, the translator did not even show up. And it's so frustrating to see that happen time and time again, because it's not her fault. And I feel like the school does not care about us. And so And also she experienced a lot of microaggressions as she was there. The counselor would ignore her.
All right. We have Valerie back on the line. Valerie Louder's next.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Valerie.
Okay. Hi, I'm Valerie, and I'm a rising senior at Jones. I would like to have a follow-up speaking session to talk about what you plan to implement to end racism and anti-Blackness at this school. This is a process that the students need to be a part of, and that cannot happen without transparency. We are not asking you to be perfect. We are asking you to be better and to show up and to take action. Please set a date for a follow-up. That is all.
The next person is Amy Chen.
Hello, my name's Amy Chen, and I'm kind of nervous. So I already wrote all of my thoughts down before I'll go. But I'm Amy Chen, and I graduated this year, so I was graduating class of 2020. And I'll be really realistic. I loved Jones. I had many friends there. I loved a lot of my teachers, and I had a great time. But being also a really realistic person, I want to get straight to the point, and I think I don't want to speak for other people, but what I would like to see is really a lot more transparency in how Jones reacts to racism within the community. And I'll say all 4 years I've been at Jones, I've heard about people using the N-word, and then I know for a fact that I've been heard about it, but I didn't hear about any consequences. And so like a simple example would be like small incidents in class where racial slurs were used, but a majority of the student population or majority of my classmates were either scared to bring it up to the teacher or just didn't care enough to bring it up because a lot of students have this, I don't want to speak for other people again, but I have this fear that I would get shut down by some teachers. And I'm not saying this is everyone, but this shouldn't be an issue at Jones because we're protecting everyone's feelings here and we really want to make everyone feel included. And so like Jones really needs to implement a transparent plan that has gone through students, admin, security, teachers, etc. So it'd be really nice if we could have a follow-up meeting and then admin could present a plan and then students, teachers can react to that plan and give their opinions. And obviously this will be really messy, but this is a messy situation and we have to clean it up this way. And this plan needs to be very, very clear. So I would like a simple example. I'm sure all Jones students know, if I take the elevator when I'm not supposed to, I get a detention. But in contrast, when someone uses the N-word in class, there's nothing that is done, and even if someone does tell admin, there is no consequence or there isn't a clear consequence. So students don't understand that this is a wrong thing to do, especially in an environment at Jones where we're saying that we're a very diverse school. And I think a lot of this aggression that my peers have spoke out today is anger that's built up over time. And I'm not someone who really likes to use aggression to solve problems because I'm not that type of person, but I applaud to those who bravely spoke up and still contained themselves with a lot of respect, because that takes a lot of courage and that takes a lot of pain at the same time. Thank you.
The next speaker we have is Miriam Clapp.
Hi everyone, I'm Miriam Clapp. I feel a little intimidated speaking as a white person. I feel like this doesn't give me a lot of credibility on these issues, but I just want to preface by saying that I stand with all students of color and all students on the LGBTQ plus spectrum at Jones. I hear you guys and I see you guys and I want to continue to learn how to be an ally. An issue I've seen over the past 4 years of my experience at Jones, which for me, despite many issues, has been overall pretty positive. I've seen there's been multiple racist incidents that have been brought to the attention of the students on a very small scale within friend groups. There's been 1 or 2 brought to our attention by SGA in our ACT labs with our ACT lab leaders. And we've had very, very, very small scale discussions. I'm thinking specifically of a discussion in my ACT lab where we talked about how can we improve things and conversations about racism in Jones. And our ACT lab came up with like 10 suggestions, and all unanimously agreed that we should move forward with these things and try to get them implemented. And nothing happened. That was brought up by SGA that time, but I also see culture clubs, students who are pushing and pushing and pushing for these conversations to be happening, for seminars, which isn't enough. Our curriculum needs to be changed, but for the very minimum, a seminar to discuss race and learn how to talk about race and have these conversations in a multicultural setting. Jones is diverse on paper, but not in our discussions or curriculum. I can't recall a time where I've had a discussion in any of my classes on how to talk about race and how to address these issues. We've talked about race in class, but it's always been analyzing it in a text or talking about how slaves were brought to America in our American history class, but there's been no discussion on the other side of the story. I've seen students push and push and push, and there's just nothing happening, and I think that needs to change, and the change starts here with us, but then it needs to go up through our teachers and administration. So I hate to see people standing by over 4 years, and I'd like to see some stuff change. Thank you.
Okay, the next person I have is Kyla Smith.
Hi, I'm Kyla. I'm a rising junior here at Jones. I'm a Black student as well. I just wanted to, put my opinion out there, and because I feel like all opinions matter, especially ours as a person of color. I just wanted to say I'm completely and utterly disgusted and heartbroken at the fact that we had to call a meeting to not be treated like dogs in a school that we made number one with our so-called diversity and our so-called mission plans and mission statements. In these past 2 years that I've been at this school, I've been exposed to racism, discrimination, microaggressions, you can name it. And I grew up in an impoverished, underprivileged neighborhood where everybody had to fiend for their own thing. I'm from the south side of Chicago. I'm specifically from Inglewood, but somehow going to those schools that were underprivileged, didn't have any money, barely lacked the opportunity to give us a good education. The fact that I went to those schools, those are my life, because I'm not at a school where everybody hates my race. I'm not at a school where everybody just wants to be like me, but disrespectfully. There's a difference between appreciation and appropriation. I'm not at a school where white principal who hates us, who we feel like hates us. I wasn't at a school like that when I grew up, from K through 8th grade, preschool through 8th grade. And the fact that I went to this school because I wanted a change, and that I went to this school because I wanted to be around people, because I wanted to experience life differently. And the fact that I'm experiencing racism in my own school, let alone my country, but my school, the school that I'm supposed to go to every day to get a good education, supposedly, but I'm supposed to experience racism while I'm in there. That is completely and utterly disgusted. I'm disgusted with Jones. I'm disgusted of the 2 years that I've been here. At this point, I'm just trying to survive high school, because I have the attitude where I just want to get through it. I don't want to be in that school anymore. I just want to hurry up and get to college. I want to go to an HBCU where I know I'll be loved and appreciated, because I know Jones isn't like that. I know life isn't like that. I know it isn't all peaches and cream, but the fact that I have to go to high school with students who blatantly hate me, with staff who blatantly hate me, with a principal who blatantly hates me, is disgusting. It's just utterly disgusting. And I just, I just wanted to get my feelings out there because it's honestly disgusting. I know I keep saying that, but it is disgusting. Thank you. That's it.
The next speaker is Samaya Austin.
Hello, I am a rising senior, and I know I've already spoken before, but I also want to just say that there have been incidents in school where I have been kicked out simply because I was standing up for myself, or simply seemed to be as if I was quote unquote attacking another student for standing up for what I had to say. There was a specific incident in my English class where I was talking to another student of color, and I was talking to the teacher of the classroom, and we were having a conversation about microaggression and about how people tend to do things to mock Black culture, to mock Hispanic culture, to mock minority culture as if it's some sort of joke. And the student that I got into the altercation with decided that she wanted to butt herself into the conversation and basically try to get a rise out of me and try to disrespect me and disrespect what I go through as a student of color.
I don't even know if everybody ranting.
When I come to school, I have to travel over 40 minutes to get to Jones every day. I travel over 40 minutes to get to Jones. I take the bus and the train every day, home and to school, to get to this place where I thought that I was going to have a voice, where I thought I was going to be special, where I thought I was going to make friends and have people who genuinely like me. I come from a school where I was the only person at Jones. I'm the only person at my school to come to Jones. I'm the only person at my school to do something and to want to do something about my education. But I come to a place where my education isn't acknowledged by administration. My feelings aren't cared about from the counselors. My feelings aren't cared about from administration. They continue to let people mock and laugh and mimic our culture, and they do nothing about it. She gets a slap on the wrist. They get a slap on the wrist. She gets a slap on the wrist. A slap on the wrist for what? A slap on the wrist for disrespecting somebody else's culture, a slap on the wrist for saying something blatantly racist, a slap on the wrist for disrespecting students, for playing favoritism with non-students of color when you see students of color screaming and begging for help. We change and we make agendas in these due dates and nothing's being done about it. We continue, y'all continue, not the students of color, y'all continue to rush over and turn a blind eye and turn the other cheek over so many minority problems, over so many blatant, out there racism or microaggression that y'all don't pay attention to. We have meetings, we have seminars. Okay, racism is bad, and now everybody's okay. That's not what's happening. That's literally being a bystander, not let anything happen. That's literally adding on to it. Just because somebody might be quote unquote neutral or working on it, you're sitting there and you're letting it happen. I'm fed up. My people of color are fed up. The other students who are allies are fed up. The administrations are fed up. I literally sat with Mr. Mitchell one day, and we talked about how to bring more minority representation to Jones. I had to talk to another family about how Jones was, and I was so tempted. I was so tempted to just honestly tell her the straight up truth and just to not come here, because there has been several times where my race has been ignored, or my feelings have been ignored, or I've been put under the stereotypical umbrella that y'all seem to throw everybody else under. I'm tired of it. We're tired of it. And the fact that y'all can sit here and just have a listening session, I honestly believe that nothing's going to be done about it. But like Ashlynn has said before, and like Ashlynn has said time and time again, there will be something done about it before I leave Jones. I will be doing something about it. At this point, nobody else younger than me, or nobody else is coming after me should have to face something like this. Thank you.
The next speaker I have is River.
Hi, I just wanted to talk about how normalized this is becoming with students of Jones, because as I'm listening and as I'm hearing everybody speak, I'm realizing that this is not normal. The stuff that we go through at this school is not normal. I have 3 brothers, and I am a student of color at Jones. I'm a Black student at Jones. And I come home and I tell them these stories that happened to me at Jones or happened to my friends at Jones. And they look at me like, what are you talking about? Why does this happen? Like, your school is crazy. And then it hits me that that is not normal. That is not something that Black students go through when they are surrounded by their peers. This is not normal. Us coming to school and being racially profiled by admin and being picked on by and that's what it is. It's literally bullying, like all these microaggressions and them appropriating our culture. I thought we were zero tolerance, but clearly we're not. Like, this isn't normal. And it's like, for us to come to you all or to come to admin and be like, hey, this is happening, and they say, what do you want us to do? Like, or to ask us, okay, so what do you want to see happen? That is not the correct response. You don't go to the doctor and tell them you're in pain and then they say, what do you want to see happen? No, this is your job, so you have to come up with the solution for it. As a student, I should not be coming up with solutions for problems that are ingrained in your school. I'm a student here. I'm not running the show. You're running the show. So you need to go behind the scenes and fix what's happening. And on the whole note of, we can't really explain the punishments that these students go through, your students talk. We find out what happens to those students through word of mouth. We know exactly what happens to those students. We know about the one day in school for the kid that said the N-word. We know what happens to these students that get caught with drugs on. White students get caught, and like, drugs is a whole other issue at Jones that we are just totally like, and I'm not going to say ignorant of, because they've been cracking down on it recently, but even then it's been such a bigger problem like than anything else. And I just find it so aggravating that everyone is like, just a lot of the problems that go on at Jones are going unnoticed by admin or are getting ignored by admin. And I'm gonna be honest, like, why aren't these students being punished as much as they can, like, to the fullest extent? Like, I get the code of conduct, but your students are being aggressive towards students of color. Like, they're literally weighing on our mental. Like, why are they not being punished more than that? Like, I honestly believe it's the fear that the funding will get pulled, because these same students that are saying the N-word and walking around being aggressive towards your students of color are the same ones whose parents are funding Friends of Jones. And I will be honest about it. So I just, like, at this point, I don't even know what to say, because I've seen everything that goes on at this school. I've talked several times, multiple times, to one member of admin about it, Mr. Mitchell, and I have not seen it go past there.
The next speaker I have is Ella Richardson.
So I wanted to start by saying that as a white person, I know I don't have firsthand experience with the racism at Jones, but I still think it's important to speak out and reiterate the points that everyone else has been making. And going off of River's point about this being normalized, I want to bring up how normal it is for the students of color to be the only people trying to educate others at Jones. It shouldn't be their job to inform admin and other white students of the problems they face at Jones. And as a white person, I've noticed almost all of the resources for learning about other cultures has to be sought out and is rarely in the original curriculum, which means students who need to hear these things and learn about other cultures will never learn. And I don't want to speak for anyone in BSU, but personally, I'm frustrated with the responsibility they must take in educating students. They're one of the only resources at Jones that students can use to learn about things such as microaggressions and cultural appropriation, and this is not acceptable. And on top of it, students can choose to go to these. I've always noticed there's more students of color than white students, and it's never the students that need to hear these conversations. The only way to push this conversation further and improve Jones is to make it an integral part of our school for students and the teachers, and not something that clubs have to hold separate meetings for to address. Admin needs to come up with a timeline for this plan of anti-racism and not just push it aside and pretend they need to absorb the information for another 10 years. It's not normal and there needs to be a solution, and it shouldn't be our job. And I also completely agree with Valerie and everyone else's point that there needs to be a follow-up meeting, and I personally would love to know when that will be, because all of admin has been skirting around this question for the entire meeting. And that's all I have to say.
The next speaker we have is Taylor.
Hi, my name is Taylor Hargis and I attend Lindblom. It is really disheartening that my friend had to tell me to get on this call. It is really disheartening that the Black representation in the school is not getting treated equally to their white peers. It is really disheartening that the principal, his body language is shit. I'm sorry, excuse my language. But it's really disheartening that I don't even attend your school. And I see that the administration is not doing shit about this. Excuse my language, but I am really disappointed. It is really disheartening that I have to speak about this because my friend attends your school to run up your numbers and you ain't doing nothing about it. It makes me upset. All I need to say is y'all need to do better. Y'all need to hear these students. And right now, from your body language and from everything else, it doesn't seem like you guys are hearing any of these students. It seems like it's going out one ear and out the other. It is really making me disappointed as a Black person in America that we have to face racism and in these school environments that you guys are not listening. It is so disappointing. And for the white kids that allowed this to happen, and now you want to speak on the cause, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves too. Because it shouldn't have to take to Instagram or social media for y'all to be speaking about this. That's ridiculous. That you guys known about this issue and y'all just now speaking about it. It's 2020. Things need to change and y'all need to come up with a solution right now. I don't want to hear, I don't know. So I'm not asking for your validation. I'm asking for your attention. I'm asking for action right away and immediately because this is unacceptable. Thank you.
The last two speakers we have are Donna Friedman and Kyla Smith. Donna?
So I just want to go back to, sorry, someone walked into the room. I just really quickly want to go back to an example from, I believe I was a freshman or a sophomore. There was a student, and yes, I'm going to name names because I don't care. Haley Beal either she let a video or posted the video herself of her openly saying the N-word with the hard R, and we all know about what happened. We all know that she intended to offend somebody, and then because she's this rich white person and her parents donate so much money to the school, all she got was what, a 3-day in-school suspension, and then she was free to walk the halls, free to go and do whatever the hell she felt was necessary to live her best life at Jones, and that was it. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't fully remember because it was a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure she let something similar or the exact same shit happen the next year. And once again, all she got was a slap on the wrist. And it is, like I said before, ridiculous. And it is disgusting. And it makes me want to vomit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sitting here listening to this shit and I'm gagging. And I have a garbage bag next to me in case I hurl over, like I just, in case it just comes out. Because it has gotten to the point. My little brother is 13. Jones is first on his list. And I had to sit him down, and he's not old enough to understand everything. He's this really sweet, young, innocent kid who doesn't know any better and has no idea what I'm ranting about. And I know that he can hear me. I know he knows what I'm yelling about. I, for so long, was so happy at thinking that, oh, hey, my little brother could go to this school and we could say that we went to the same school and blah, blah, blah. I can talk to him about all of my favorite teachers. Bullshit. Not going to happen. Not at all going to happen. White students at this school walk away with nothing other than a slap on the wrist. Some even maybe get a pat on the back for the check that goes from their hands to the admin's hands for how much money the school will be making just to buy their children's way out of it because they didn't do a good enough job of teaching them right from wrong.
at Jones, white students make up, yes, I think a majority of the population, but it's gotten to the point where I don't even know how to feel about the school that I went to anymore. I took anything that I had down off my wall that was Jones affiliated and threw it in the trash. I have gotten to the point where every time I think about Jones, the first thing I think about is the incident that happened with Haley Beal. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to openly think about, oh, she could have been a nice person. I hated her. I hated her. I didn't like her. She was fake. She was racist. She was rude. She was arrogant. But that is just one of the many people who have walked in to Jones, and one of the many people who will walk into Jones that have the same personality and have the same mindset that they can do whatever they want just because of mommy and daddy's money. That's it. I'm done.
That's it for public comment. We don't have any additional speakers at this time.
Okay, thanks, Rupa. As I mentioned before, stop me if we see something else come in, Rupa, but the rest of the meeting is around our elections that the LSC takes care of internally. And so if there's no other public comment, we can move into that section now. So we will start with the nominations for chair. David, can you unmute the LSC members so that we can?
I don't really know totally how to work Zoom besides setting up the meeting. I don't think I can permanently unmute just certain people. I think no matter what, we're going to be in this sort of situation where some people are muted and I have to continually unmute anyone who wants to speak. So sorry, I don't know the intricacies of working Zoom.
Okay.
Can I motion, like, I don't feel like jumping into regular business after that. I'd like to take at least a few minute recess, but like there was an incredible amount of powerful student and community member voices, and I don't want to jump into regular business. I want to be able to take time to really absorb what was said. So I would motion to at least recess for a few minutes. If not, if we're going to have an emergency meeting, I don't know why we wouldn't have those votes at the emergency meting. I mean,
well, we have to do it by tomorrow.
Okay. Then I would at least say, like, we should recess for, I know it's late, but like, I don't want to jump into regular business. I want to go, yeah.
Agreed. I think we can go to a recess, but we cannot adjourn the meeting, because then we would not be able to start up a meeting without notice to the public. So if we want to agree to at least a 15-minute recess, right now I show 8:14. 8:30 we can return. And really, I think, David, the only thing we can do is leave the Zoom up, and then we'll unmute to go about the selection of the officers. We're at 8:30, so I'll get us back into session as I mentioned before. Oh. I need headphones in to talk. We'll go ahead and get back to the business at hand, and that is nominations and selection of the chair. So I will entertain nominations from the LSC.
Tim, it's Lainey. Can I talk?
Please.
Hi. You know, I think I just want to say thank you that everyone that was out there and that was speaking, and I did absolutely hear you. One of the things that I think that we can do better as particularly white parents on the LSC is to make room and make space for other parent representatives that maybe there hasn't traditionally been in the past. So I think one of the things I would like to do is invite one of the newest. I would like to nominate, if she's willing to take this, for chairman, Veronica Robinson, to be chair for moving forward. I think that it is really important that we hear what is being said. And while I understand that we did not come to the table with a plan and timing and specific action steps, I hope that 15 minutes later we can make our first action and nominate Veronica Robinson to be our chair moving forward. If you'll accept that nomination, Veronica.
So I will accept that nomination. I understand, I hear, I feel, I know exactly what they are saying. And it is very important to me that we are not just speaking. We have to do better. We will do better. I am willing and I'm able to work with administration, with the staff, the teachers, the counselors. This is too important. Our kids are too important.
Yep.
They can't go through what I've been through. They can't. It's not fair.
Thank you. Thank you, Lainey, for the nomination. Veronica, I appreciate you accepting. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion that we elect Veronica Robinson, our new chairman of the Jones College Prep Local School Council. And for council members, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay. Hearing no objection, Veronica, you are our new chairman of the LSC.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I look forward to hearing, continuing to hear from the students, the staff, the alumni as well. I want to hear your experiences. And we're going to work on this. We're going to fix this.
And Veronica, I'm here to help you out. I think one of the things that we missed out on in previous years was continuity in the LSC from sometimes when I was elected, it was a whole new LSC, which is just terrible because we need to have continuity. We need to have people that are dialed in as we are now. So right now, as the newly elected chair, it is your job now to entertain nominations for secretary, and I will just help you a little bit in the fact that Rupa has been our secretary, Jesus has been our secretary pro temp, if you will, so they've made a good team. So perhaps I just maybe helped with that nominating process, but I would like to nominate Rupa as the secretary of our LSC. Rupa might be muted.
Yeah, she is muted.
We just need to have Rupa acknowledge that she would accept that nomination, and we can we can
Cannot
vote.
unmute herself. There you go.
Tim, I feel uncomfortable accepting the nomination at this time just because I am starting school in the fall and I don't
Okay.
know what the status of my
Understood.
attendance at meetings is going to be. So I'd
Yeah.
hate to take on that role specifically just because
Okay.
that does require someone to be at meetings every
And
single month.
and you did indicate that to me a few weeks ago. So, Jesus, if you're willing to accept that nomination as secretary, I would like to put it out there.
I'd be more than happy to do that. My only thing is that I did not elect to run again. So whenever my term expires or whenever there's another election term, we'll have to pick someone else. But I'm happy to fill that vacancy for the time being.
All right, Veronica, I'll turn it over to you then.
So let me just pull up the schedule here, because obviously I was not anticipating this. So I might actually have to defer a little bit to you for this first meeting just to kind of get my feet out from underneath me, because I am not ready with the schedule or anything. And I know Dania also said that she was muted. So if we need to unmute Dania as well.
I'm doing my best. The problem is if we don't continually talk, it re-mutes you. So if you find yourself unmuted, please just send me a message and I'll unmute you. I apologize. I haven't ever tried to manage a meeting with this many people, so.
Okay. So, Veronica, at this point, we can entertain any more nominations for secretary if there are any.
Okay. Let me hold on one second. Let me just make sure that I'm on the same page, because I just want to pull up this schedule here. I was not, like I said, anticipating any of this, so I didn't have it in front of me, and I just want to, I'm usually a very prepared person here, so give me a second.
I'm unmuted, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
People can self-nominate, correct? So if anybody.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I have the agenda up right now. Okay. All right. So just continuing with what Tim said, I just would like to entertain any other nominations for secretary. Okay. So if there are no other nominations, then we would like to we would like to entertain a motion to make Jesus the secretary of the LSC.
So moved.
Second.
All right. We would like to congratulate you, Jesus, on being.
We just need to take a quick vote, Veronica.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have
right.
got to learn all of my rules and put them all down so that I have them. Okay, so we have the motion and we have it second, and we would like to entertain a vote for Jesus.
Sorry, Veronica, who made the motion? Because I did not capture that.
Tim.
Okay. And then the second was?
Lainey raised her hand.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Okay, congratulations, Jesus.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is the nomination for the vice chair. Do we have any nominations?
I would like to nominate Sam Robinson.
I'll
Sam?
second that nomination.
I guess I have to say yes.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting it, but yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in, any other nominations? All right, again, so we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Okay, congratulations, Sam.
Thank you.
All right, and so we have nominations for FOIA/OMA officer.
I don't even know what that is.
Yes, I was wondering the same.
It is the Freedom of Information Act. It's the officer that ensures that we are in compliance with public meeting notifications.
Who was the previous one?
Darcy DeWolf.
Okay. Okay. Do we have any nominations?
I am sorry, but that is not my strength.
I will self-nominate.
I'll second him.
Any other nominations? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, congratulations, Tim. Thank you. Okay. All right, so this is a vote to set the regular meeting schedule. So can we just review back a little bit and talk about when, well, also, are we going to continue with the schedule that we had previously last year, or are we needing to schedule because of Zoom, because of any other changes? Dr. Powers, are you thinking that there are any other changes that need to be made to the regular schedule? This is not talking about the emergency meeting or anything like that. No, does not include that.
We've been set on Tuesday evenings, typically the second Tuesday of the month for years. It seems to have worked with a lot of people. I'm open to anything. It's the reason it's at 5:30 is it's late enough for people to get to, typically coming from work, but early enough that it doesn't go too late into the evening. Most of our meetings tend to be an hour to hour and a half, thereabouts. So there are a few exceptions in there because of where, like a holiday or, some other factor. But it's certainly most important thing is to have that first meeting scheduled. And then if there's any need or we find any need to make changes, those changes can be made at a later date. If we run into a major conflict of some sort.
Okay, so any other thoughts on this? Does anybody have any objections to that, want to change it, or do we want to vote?
I'll make a motion that we approve the schedule that was sent out to the LSC, typically the second Tuesday of each month.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Sorry, was that Sam Robinson who seconded?
Yeah.
Yes, Sam and Laney.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a couple. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Okay. Meeting set. All right. And then the first regular meeting then would be this one in August. August
11th.
11th at 5:30 p.m.
Right.
Let me go back to this. I want to, any other old business?
So Veronica, I don't know if we would bring it up now in old business, but I know that we shared a commitment during public comment that we would hold an emergency meeting. Considered old business technically, or maybe it's new business. I don't know. It's under one of these headings, but I do think that I'd like to leave here with some clarity on what our follow-up is going to be.
Sure. Yeah, so Rupa, what I would like to do, and I don't know what other people think, but I would like to kind of sit down and, did you have a lot of notes that you've taken? I did not take notes, I was sort of listening. And I would like to see if we can compile some of those notes so that we can kind of talk about them in the meeting and then start to create action committees, this kind of thing, to move forward. I don't know if other people have other ideas, but I think we need to know exactly what the requests are. I mean, I know we got, emails, but I think we need to really start to kind of delineate and write down everything that was said. I know that there were also some alumni who are creating groups as well. So I think we need to start to kind of formulate those kinds of things. But I do think we need to have this emergency meeting. I mean, so it needs to happen sooner rather than later. So, but I also defer to you because I know you said you're starting school and this kind of thing. What can we do to kind of move that forward?
So from a note-taking perspective, the way that I've taken notes, it is impossible for a 3-hour meeting, and also that was being recorded. I did not take extensive notes. I did list all the speakers. We have a ton of submissions that have come in from the public. So I would recommend that we all either re-listen, or if folks did take notes individually, to start compiling, and maybe we share it just as we had compiled the racial equity statement that we had drafted. So we start to kind of sketch out what's the framework for how we want to move forward, because I think if we are going to have another meeting and an emergency meeting scheduled for this, we need to have a plan of action in place that is responsive to what we heard. But I think it's really good for folks to take a second, process what was shared tonight based on their notes, everything that has been shared with the LSC, because we had a ton of submissions this week leading up, re-listening to the recording. So as soon as the recording can be made available, and then maybe setting a deadline for when we want to have something compiled and like an action, like a written action plan that we are ready to move off of.
I have a question about the emergency meeting. Would that be a closed session organizational meeting? Or would that be another opportunity for public participation? Because I organize all that stuff out, and I don't know if we'd be able to do that with.
I don't think under Open Meetings Act this can be a closed meeting.
Okay.
I don't think it meets any of the exceptions.
And I think Veronica's right. I mean, one thing that I hope people will know is the LSC, we're parents too, most of us. The majority of the LSC is also parents too. So we're processing this not only as LSC people, but also as parents. And I think we need a little bit of time to be able to organize so that we can get our shit together, to be quite blunt. So that we can better serve the rest of the school. So Veronica, I don't know if we need an emergency meeting so much as we just need to have a, if we can work together to have a plan to pull information together so that we can start putting forward some of this, operationalize what we want to do.
David?
I would advocate for a separate meeting if the SRO vote's going to be on the 8/11 meeting, because I think the SRO vote's going to have a strong amount of public participation based on the amount of emails we've been getting. And I also think that the reality is, to get this plan right, it's going to require multiple redrafts. You know, I think someone mentioned in the comments, like, you know, if we come up with 10, 15, 20 proposals, and then we can survey and see which ones, you know, people are most, I don't know what the plan is, but it's going to take a lot. So to me, it feels like we should probably look at meeting sometime next week or the week after. I would agree. I think I would like to be able to read through all the statements and all that, but so like a week, maybe enough time. I don't know, maybe 2 weeks, but I would definitely want to meet before the 8/11 meeting.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know that we're going to have a plan in 2 weeks. That's going to be a good plan.
No, I don't even know. Yeah, I would agree with you. We're not going to have a plan, but I think, you know, we owe it to begin to have another public conversation of even what that plan looks like. When we haven't been on a meeting for 3 hours, you know, does that make sense?
Here's a question. I think there were demands that were made, and I think, David, I think you made reference to something that the teachers have that you're going to meet with Dr. Powers tomorrow on, or either one day this week. And maybe as a starting point, and I think Dr. Powers may have mentioned this, of trying to consolidate the two lists to see how those demands and what the teachers are asking for can be consolidated to include the training that has been mentioned as far as from a racial diversity standpoint. And there are organizations that, and again, everything has to be paid for, but there are organizations that can be brought to bear to teach individuals how to relate to other people who come from a different culture. Organizations do it all the time. So the hardest part is trying to understand what are the costs, and then how can you set it up for teachers as well as students to be able to get that, as well as I think the idea of doing something with the curriculum to actually indicate that others in America outside of European descent have actually contributed to America being as great as it is or isn't, and finding a way to see how that can be implemented. Recognizing that the school year is coming up close, but then it becomes a function of what things can be done at the beginning of the school year and other things that may have to be done later in the school year. But to put forth a strong effort to be able to try and be accountable to a lot of the things that have been stated that are quite eye-opening to all of us. And I think the idea now is things have been done poorly in the past, but go forward with the right action plan and to try to make adjustments as we go. I think that's how we can make Jones become that great school that everyone who sent their child here, to include myself, believe it to be. I think we can make a lot of ground that way. We can't do it all at one time, but we can definitely start with some things and set a roadmap that would allow us to be able to do it.
Yeah, I think that we need to really be intentional about this. You know what I mean? So I think that it was said that this has been an ongoing problem, and we need to really make actionable plans that are long lasting and sustainable. You know, so I think that we need to, you know, look at this, listen to the information, start to get this list that, you know, jot down the list and that kind of, that, you know, maybe having, like you said, an outside consultant or somebody, you know, that may be one of the, you know, things that we come up with, right? But I think we need to really spend the time and make sure that this makes sense and not just something that's knee-jerk or reactionary.
Agreed.
I'll note the group reached out to Andy and I today about training around the SRO vote. I forwarded it to Tim this afternoon to put it on. Veronica, I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
And then can also everyone make sure, I know a member of the PPLC sent that those proposals out the other day. And I think I gave the right list to members, but can everyone make sure they got an email from the PPLC with the 4 points that the staff sent? And if not, you can email or Caitlin Miller sent it out, and we can make sure to send that again.
Okay, so I just want to make sure, did we decide if we are going to have a meeting in between this meeting and the August meeting?
I would motion that we have a meeting between now and August.
I second that motion.
Okay, do we want to set the date? Let's vote for it. Let's vote on that. So let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any objections? Okay, so now we need to set what that date would actually be. So would Tuesdays still work for people? So what about July 28th? Does that work at the same time, 5:30?
I would motion July 28th at 5:30.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Oh,
Aye.
hold on 1 second. Before I approve, Lainey, were you about to say something? Objection?
I'll work to change my schedule.
Okay, any objections then?
The motion was made by David and seconded by Tim. Okay.
Tim. Okay, so the next meeting will be July 28th at 5:30 via Zoom. Can you send out, David, the information to everyone?
Yeah, it'll tonight the video upload, and I'll send the video out to Veronica and Rupa, and then tomorrow morning after Freshman Connection, I can create the new Zoom link. So I should be. I'll send it to Veronica and Rupa, or no, sorry, Veronica and Jesus. I'll send it to you now. The new Zoom link tomorrow, so it can be added to the agenda.
Okay. Any new business?
If I may add something, with regard to the chat, a great many things were said about specific individuals. Names were put out there of students, faculty members, accusations of various kinds that were not necessarily mentioned verbally. Recording. I have very serious reservations about the chat being published. simply because it is going to open up the school and all of us to potential liability if a student's name has been thrown around a great deal or a staff member, and I don't think any of us want that to be the case. So I'm just saying that because the chat got very, very heated at times.
Dr. Powers, and now that I'm the official FOIA guy, I will follow up with our LSC liaison with that very question.
Okay, and then you'll let us know what we can and cannot do. Okay.
Yeah.
And I admit I'm an amateur in Zoom, but I don't think there's a way to take the Zoom chat off the recording. So Tim, you need to ask, there's probably a couple questions you need to ask if you're doing that.
Yep.
Okay. Any other new business? Okay, let me just check the chat and see if there's anything else, any other new business real quick before we. Okay. Okay. All right, I move that we adjourn the meeting until July 28th.
Second.
Second. Third.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned at 8:56 p.m.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for bearing
Thank
with
you.
me. I will have all of my rules of meeting etiquette done by next time. Thank you so much. I will have it down.
We'll all work together on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you all dealing with. Good night, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
All right, everybody.
Night.